A sunny 67-degree day in New Hampshire's Capital District for the first Sunday of fall, and the second race in the chase, the Sylvania 300, is about to begin. The 12 drivers in the chase made the championship because they've run up front more than most, and the same goes for those drivers at this particular track. They've all got pretty good records here.
I think these drivers all started on short tracks, even though this is a mile track, maybe not considered exactly a short track, but they do a great job. And you see Casey Kane with a 16.8, but he was the last winner here.
So will it be a better than average day today for our ESPN in-race reporter? That's Kevin Harvick. He gets ready to roll off.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for talking with us today. And, hey, we're going to get right to the good stuff. I know you're big in the Twitter world, and our mailbag question comes from Davey via Twitter. If you win today, will Keelan and Delana be in victory lane with you?
Yeah, only if it's on FaceTime, because they stayed home this week. Long plane ride back and forth. So I'd love to have them here and miss them, but if we win, I'll have to be solo this week. They just have to use the Sprint phone there.
Well, I know you would take that also, and they would be proud. Hey, Kevin, I watched part of the final practice yesterday and talked to a number of people in the garage area. They seem to think that this number 29 car is one of the cars to beat today. What's your thoughts as you go into this race?
The Chevy has been really good throughout practice, so you know this deal here, though. It's one of those things where you got to get the track position and you got to keep it, have the strategy all fall your way. So if we can do that, I think, we have plenty of speed in the car, so we'll just have to see how it all plays out.
All right, Kevin, thanks for talking with us. Now, the man that's going to help you get that pit strategy is on your pit box, Gil Martin, and Andy's going to talk to you.
Hey, Gil, it's Andy up in the booth. You guys have had a lot of success here, you and Kevin both. Have you got some of that old magical setup in that car, or you got something all brand new?
No, Andy, the one good thing about coming to Loudon is the fact that Goodyear hadn't changed their tires in a couple of years. The track surface hadn't changed. And we've got a pretty good foundation of a setup that we're working on. So you just kind of try to dial in the center and get up off the quarter, and that's all you can do here all day.
Yeah, well, the strategy is going to be important. Do you have a good plan on how you're going to do that? Are you going to change 4 tires a lot today, or we see a lot of 2-tire?
I think you're going to see a lot of both, Andy. This competition caution on lap 40, you'll probably see a lot of 2-tire changes. And everybody's going to try to space out those 4-tire changes to optimize that last pit stop.
Okay, Gil, you and Kevin have a good day, and I hope you have good luck. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, Andy, thank you.
And Gil leading my next topic, which is there will be a competition caution at lap number 40 in this race after some overnight rain last night. So before we get started, another look at the championship standings with now 9 races to go in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, and a couple of guys in particular you each want to point out to keep an eye on today.
Yeah, I'm going to go right to the top of the list. Brad Keselowski and his race team did a great job last week at Chicagoland in taking this points lead. That's a little bit different. They didn't start right there. Now that they're on top, the focus is on them. All the eyes are right there. Can they continue this? And on a very difficult racetrack here where a lot of things come into play, are they going to be right there once again today?
Yeah, what I'm watching, I think the 2 challengers for Jimmy Johnson this year are going to be Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin. But I'm looking at Hamlin's team. They've got speed. They've been the fastest car here all weekend. They made a big mistake last week, and they made a huge mistake here in qualifying to put them way back in the starting lineup. I'm watching this car and this team to see if they can overcome these mistakes and eliminate mistakes and really be a championship contender.
Keselowski and Hamlin carrying a couple of our ESPN high-definition onboard cameras that will bring you coverage throughout the race today. Brad with the Dodge onboard camera. Championship leader getting ready to go. Casey Kane won the July race here. He's got our Sprint on board. Denny Hamlin coming from deep in the field, the fresh from Florida Gulf Seafood camera. Tony Stewart, defending winner of this race, the Mobil 1 on board. And Clint Boyer, a 2-time winner of this race, has our 5-hour energy on board.
Got a packed house here today.
Oh, yeah, it looked awesome.
Beautiful day to win a race.
Yeah, sure would be. Kevin Harvick's also got a Goodyear onboard camera for us. Heard from Kevin a minute ago. Jimmy Johnson has the Lowe's on board.
Got a little bit of a challenge ahead of us, guys, but nothing we cannot overcome. Remember this: 1 lug nut, 1 jack post, 1 can of fuel, 1 lap at a time.
A little bit of a challenge, Jimmy, starting back in 20th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has our Chevy on board. Earnhardt Jr. with a little bit of a challenge also, starting in 14th position. And as we get set to go with the Sylvania 300, a reminder that you can check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy and follow your favorite drivers for free today with 8 live camera views as they chase victory here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So again, a quick mention, Some rain overnight, competition caution coming at lap 40. That's kind of standard procedure for NASCAR and the teams. And this note, the winner of the second race in the chase has won the championship the last 3 straight years. Who wins the Sylvania 300 today? Time to start finding out. Jeff Gordon will lead lap 1. Tony Stewart 14, Kyle Busch 18 for second, side by side.
Really interesting to see how aggressive these drivers are going to be attacking this racetrack. Not a lot of grip, as I said, with the air pressures low and no rubber on this racetrack because there was a hard rain here overnight.
Bobble for Carl Edwards in 1 and 2. It's going to cost him a spot, maybe more. Ryan Newman, 39, went by. Here's Casey Kane in the 5 to Edwards inside.
Yeah, Edwards qualified, had a good qualifying effort, but seemed to really struggle yesterday during the practice sessions.
Clint Boyer, 15. Two-time winner of this race, trying to ease toward the front as Tony Stewart tries to ease by Jeff Gordon for the lead. Not that it'll be an easy pass.
I see Gordon trying to get back to the gas there. Big slip. Tony Stewart take advantage of that and go to the front.
That's one of the big challenges here at this racetrack. All these cars have so much power. It's so hard to hook them up off the corner. The track's so flat. And that's the key, is getting the car to turn through the middle and keep it tight off. Like Stewart's car is doing all of that right now.
Look at this knot. Kevin Harvick on back. Harvick running in 13th. Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, all right there. And a lot more.
Entering these corners are very difficult, carrying a lot of speed down in. You use a lot of brake initially. You need to get off of it and let it roll. But being that inside car, you have to be extremely careful of getting loose and then crashing yourself or the car that's on the outside of it.
There's a little bit more banking in that second and third lanes. But you can see that short distance around the track is kind of appealing. You see a lot of cars trying to go for that.
Little being the key word there. A little bit more banking.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dale Jr. moving up a spot. 88 car cracking the top 10. And Jeff Burton. A little tap and a little nudge on Greg Biffle. I'm here. This will show you just how difficult it can be to hold that bottom lane trying to make a pass here in New Hampshire.
Well, man, I screwed up the front of the car, but I hit the 31 hard. He checked up early, and I hit him.
We'll look at it.
Well, that's difficult, too, early on.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of damage it did to the 29 car, but you can see the damage to Jeff Burton's 31. Didn't seem to affect Burton, though, getting in the corner and getting that shot. This has been one of Jeff Burton's best racetracks. I'll be surprised if he doesn't have a good run today.
Greg Biffle slipping back a little bit here in the opening run. Biffle, a former winner at this track, as is the man trying to pass him, Joey Logano.
Yeah, and I mentioned Carl Edwards struggling. It seemed that all the Fords were struggling in practice yesterday. Just couldn't find what they needed for speed and longevity.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. All the Toyotas seem to be fast. Here's one of them trying to make a move now. See Kyle Busch trying to make a move on Jeff Gordon. All the Toyotas were fast in practice, and it seemed like all the Fords were not, and the Chevys were kind of right there in the middle. And a Chevy leading right now, though.
Talk about how many former winners at this racetrack there are in the field. Kyle Busch, former winner. Jeff Gordon, former winner. All four of those guys are former winners here. How about 24 car early on, Vince? Doesn't look so good.
No, you know, and despite the fact that they started this race from the pole, Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, told me this morning the one issue they've really dealt with this weekend is the entry to the center. The entry to the center of the corner really needs work. That's what they've been working on. And Jeff said they're free everywhere, but really loose on entry. So not a big surprise, but definitely something they're going to have to stay on top of today if Gordon's going to have the kind of day he needs.
Yeah, you'd think that'd be kind of easy to fix, that you can just tighten it up, but when you do that, it really affects the center of the corner, and that's where the speed really is right in the center. So you just have to deal with the car sometimes that's loose in the corner.
So Kyle Busch gets to second behind the second leader of this race, the defending race winner and defending Sprint Cup champion, Tony Stewart, out in front early at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart, the early leader here at New Hampshire today. Which driver do you think will take first out of this week's top 4 qualifiers? Gordon, Busch, Stewart, or Vickers? Text FAST to 34763 or go to attfastestdriver.com to play. You could have a chance to win 4 Gs by playing along in today's AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Every week you have a chance to make your pick and see where you stack up against the rest. Tony Stewart leading. Looks like he's picked up a little passenger.
Got a little trash on the grill. I'm sure they're keeping an eye on that temperature. So far, no issue.
They've got quite a breeze out here today, and they'll get a lot of stuff on the racetrack, whether it comes from the pit area or up in the stands and gets through the fence area. So they'll have to keep an eye on this throughout the day for all the race teams.
Jimmy Johnson, Joey Logano racing for 14th and
Joey's got
15th positions.
Joey's got a big piece of debris on his grill. See, I believe it is, but like you say, Dale, that wind blows all the trash out of the grandstands and blows it on the track, and it is a problem.
Saw Jimmy racing with Brad Keselowski a little while ago, Jamie. He's gotten by him now.
Yes, he has. Moving forward, Jimmy told me yesterday the reason they qualified 20th is the air pressures weren't quite right. He said he went into the hauler and he was pretty upset until he saw the 11 and Denny Hamlin go out. Same thing happened to him and he qualified worse, but they're pretty confident in their race car as you see him pass the 20 of Joey Logano.
All right, Jimmy picking up another spot there on Joey Logano.
So we talk about the difficulty of passing here. It can be done with a good race car. You can move your way forward. You just have to be patient as a driver and understand where it's best to push the issue and when it's not. 300 laps sounds like a short race, but it takes a lot to get all of that done here today.
All right, let's update Denny Hamlin's progress through the field in the early going.
Yeah, he's done a good job so far. I mean, the official starting position was actually further up than his qualifying because of some cars going to the rear, but he has done a good job of making his way to the front.
Hasn't all been easy.
Now you get down on that flat part right there. It actually is kind of off camber there. It's actually, you're almost on the apron of the racetrack and you get no banking help, so you get your left side tires on there. Almost a little contact, but it shows how good Denny is and the handling of this car. Looked like they were going to touch, but I believe everything's fine.
Loved watching that left front tire work on that replay before while he was wrestling that car to stay off the guys he was racing. So Hamlin with the car that most everyone acknowledged is fastest in this field, trying to chip his way forward, Doc.
And trying to be, as DJ and Andy put it, patient. Now, Darian Grubb told Denny just prior to climbing in the car, if you can get to the top 20, get the 20th spot by lap 40 for the competition yellow, it helps our case a lot. But if you can get to the 15th spot, then we can do what the leaders do with the competition yellow, and we're there. Denny said the 20th shouldn't be a problem. Getting the 15th might be a challenge, and indeed it is. And right now, by the way, he's complaining he's very tied off. That's why it was really hard for him to stay off that 43 car coming up off the corner.
Well, he has made it up into the top 20, Doc, and he's 3 spots away from cracking that top 15. Denny moving up into the 18th position. Chase race number 2, the Sylvania 300, just underway on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Loudon, New Hampshire. Tony Stewart taking the lead from Jeff Gordon, just 4 laps into the race, and Stewart has paced the entire distance thus far, though we are very, very early in the going. Other early stories, the Denny Hamlin's progress. We just made mention of a minute ago. Jimmy Johnson trying to make up for a subpar qualifying run. Trying to take a 13th spot away from Greg Biffle.
That right there is what you have to have your car to be able to do. We talk about making passes. You could see Jimmy Johnson's car right in the center of the corner, how it rotated and able to get back in the throttle and get the drive off that you need. You have those two things going for you, you can do a lot on this racetrack.
And one other early story, Brian Vickers, who had such a terrific qualifying run in the Michael Waltrip Racing 55 car, scheduled to start 4th. But the team found something in looking at the engine after final practice yesterday that made them change the power plant by NASCAR rule. They went to the back of the field, and Vickers trying to progress his way forward.
Well, he has been amazing in this car. Every start that he's made in it, he's been good all weekend, and now he's making his way to the front. Must be going pretty good for him, Jamie.
Yes, it certainly is. Rodney Childers, his crew chief, told me this morning he saw an issue with the valve train. He said it was precautionary, but he's seen it before. It leads to blowing up, and they, of course, didn't want that to happen today because they do feel like they have one fast race car, and they're thrilled to have Brian Vickers back behind the wheel. Dave?
Jamie, Bobby Labonte in the 47 right there getting passed by Vickers. He's going the wrong way right now. That right front tire is chattering coming off the corner. But they dodged a big bullet this morning. In early inspection, the crew noticed that the rear end was leaking. So they changed the rear end housing on that car. Did not have to start in the rear, but they were glad to have that behind them before the race started.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been very fun for that to happen to them on the opening laps of the race. Would have made a tough day. Really tough. Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, and Clint Boyer, the top 5. Aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Beautiful day to be flying around over New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Beautiful day to be at the track for the Sylvania 300, and we welcome you back to our coverage of Chase Race number 2. I invite you to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. A lot of teams going to be really happy to see this competition caution that's coming 5 more laps from now, because there are a lot of teams with a lot of stuff on the grill.
Yeah, you can see quite a bit of trash is accumulating, and they only have to run about, what, 6 more laps before the competition caution. But you can see right here, a lot of cars gathering a lot of trash.
Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson. That's Joey Logano.
Pretty good size piece on Joey's car.
Yep.
Looks like there's some on his brake ducts as well.
And a race for the lead shaping up as we close in on the caution also. Kyle Busch, 18, closing in on Tony Stewart. Putting Joe Nemechek in the 87 a lap down.
Kyle Busch with another good run. He was solid last week at Chicagoland. Just unfortunately missed out by a couple of points of being a part of the chase.
But any questions any of us had about whether they could move past what happened in Richmond and compete to win races, they certainly answered last Sunday in Chicago and again here today.
Yeah, and I would expect nothing less from the driver's side of that with Kyle Busch, no doubt.
All right, yes, I'm loose in, but I'm really starting to have to stop the car, get to the center because I'm getting real tight. I don't know if that tight is what's turning my loose off. Maybe, I don't know, then right there I hit it and both ends so good. Done for.
Yeah, here, while he was making those comments, it sounded like he maybe found a little something, and I'm watching his lap times. They seem to have picked back up. He's actually closed the gap a little bit on Stewart's lead.
So Jeff Gordon running in 3rd, less than a second behind the top 2. Denny Hamlin. Doc's report a little while ago was that if they could get into the top 15 by the competition caution, it'd make their strategy a lot easier. Well, he's done it.
Yeah, he's almost got to the top 10.
Yep.
That right there put him in 12th.
And let's look ahead to that yellow flag just for a second, Andy. Not quite a full fuel run. What are we going to see?
I think you'll see a lot of strategy, a lot of 2 tires, and anymore it seems like the guys won't, even the leaders won't let you leapfrog them because they're going to take 2 as well. We'll see when we get to that 40 lap mark.
Yeah, you just can't get that. Even though we see the ability to pass, it just makes it, you just put yourself in a position of having to run your car harder and do things that you don't want to put your driver in that position.
For the lead, Tony Stewart 14, Kyle Busch 18, in some lap traffic. Traffic that would prefer not to get lapped before the yellow flag waves.
Well, they'll be fighting hard right now to try to stay on that lead lap. Just looks like a lap away from that caution, or maybe
about 3/4 of a lap. Yeah, the way NASCAR generally does this is they let all the lead lap cars pass through the start-finish line, then put the caution out. Kind of keeps the scoring from getting confused. There's the yellow flag right there.
Put it out. This one's all me. This will be the competition. Yellow leaders up to the 4.
Yeah, a lot of teams glad to see this because of that debris we've seen. I've seen a lot of trash still blowing out there on the front straightaway. That wind is just blowing it everywhere. I think it's going to be a problem all day.
That's what I was going to say, Andy. That problem's not going to go away for them, and they're not going to get a caution every 40 laps by design here anyway. We may have that as the field gets bunched back up.
Last 2 races here have been different than the prior pattern in New Hampshire. Last 2 races here have only had 3 cautions apiece. July race here, caution flag stops were 2 tire stops. Green flag stops were 4 tire stops. Obviously, depending on how many laps you've run and how much fuel you need to take on board. So this will be kind of curious to see.
Yeah, what happens is if you take a full load of fuel, you can put 4 tires on just about that amount of time. So that's what happens with these green flag stops. They've already run their tanks dry. That's why they're coming in. So they can just go ahead and get 4 tires. Right now, they're about a half a tank, maybe just a little over a half a tank down.
I'd say if you got a bad handling car and you're outside the top 10, you might as well put 4 tires and make an adjustment.
First pit stops are here. Dave?
Alan, the 15 bunch will get it started with 2 right side tires only, a can of Sunoco fuel. Clint's car loose, tight, loose, 3 parts of the corner. Jamie?
Tony Stewart said he's tight in the center. That's where he wants the help. It was right sides only, wedge and air pressure adjustment. Doc?
Casey Kane tight in the middle, tight off, 1 round down, right rear air out of the right front. Vince?
Right side tires and 1 round in the right rear for Jeff Gordon. Loose on entry, tight in the middle. Gordon, it looked like, was the man off pit road first, just beating Kyle Busch.
You got it, Vince. The ability to pick that #1 pit stall by winning the pole and qualifying. Paying off for Jeff Gordon, getting him back to the #1 spot after the first round of pit stops. Barely. Look at that. Gordon, Kyle Busch, and Tony Stewart. Doubled up for the restart. Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch along the front row of the Sylvania 300. Tony Stewart led coming on to pit road, but nothing that was his fault cost him a couple of spots.
Just that time of the race.
Andy, you got to do better with your coloring than that.
See, Stewart just had to check up. Keep from getting involved in a pit road accident there. That cost him.
I always had trouble coloring inside the lines, too. Kyle Busch around the outside. And he's going to clear Jeff Gordon. Kind of easy looking. Casey Kane, 5 outside of Tony Stewart, 14. Winners of the last 2 races here, Stewart and Kane. Denny Hamlin continuing to march toward the front in that 11 car.
Well, look at this, 3 wide. This is, you can just see how well his car is working, though, just like it's on a rail.
That's impressive right there.
That was.
Just, I mean, to drive by Jimmy Johnson like that, too. Because I know Jimmy was making sure that he didn't get up in to the 27 with Paul Menard.
So that's 8th place from essentially 28th place on the grid for Denny Hamlin. Not even 50 laps in.
On a track that's almost impossible to pass on.
And see, he's proven that theory wrong.
Yeah, he's done that before, though. He did it up here in the last race.
Yep. Matt Kenseth, 17. Jeff Burton, 31. It's 12th and 13th. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. lost a lot of ground on pit road on this series of stops. He came in 9th. He came out 20th.
Yeah, you're just really, really long on the front guy's hose. Well, not all of you. We got to get a little better, but yeah, real long on the front hose. So I apologize. No problem. Got a lot of races. The car's real good. See if this track bar helps. My goal is to try to make it turn the middle, and that way you can hopefully help the exit for us. Just take our time here. Take our time.
Yeah, they just had a bad pit stop. It was about 3 seconds slower than a lot of the cars that took 2 tires, and you can see it cost him a lot of track position. See there, 9.4 seconds. That's a real slow stop for 2 tires.
And another spot for Denny Hamlin.
He just makes it look effortless. It's incredible how good his car is. He's a big part of that, though. I think it's his style, the way he drives the car, knows exactly how he wants that car to do what he needs to do, and it's doing it right now.
Yeah, he's able to make speed, but in the process, he doesn't abuse the tires and the brakes on the car because of the way that he has of driving this race car without attacking the corner so hard that he has to slam on the brakes, which will do 2 things. It's going to heat the brakes up. That's going to add air pressure to especially to the right front tire, which will create handling problems. And he's so good with the throttle on the exit that he doesn't wear out the rear tires as he puts the power down. So it's just the perfect storm for Denny Hamlin and this racetrack.
So Hamlin up to the 7th position from 28th on the starting grid. He's passing them cleanly. And he's not afraid to give him a little nudge when he needs to as well. Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr.
My goal is to get to the top 10 by lap 100 and race our way there from that point.
Well, if you're Denny Hamlin, you got to love it when a plan comes together, because not only did he get up into the top 10, he's moved his way all the way into the top 5. And we're not at lap 100 yet.
And he's still not done. He's still passing cars.
Marching forward is Denny Hamlin. Remember, the team made a mistake on Friday during qualifying, forgot to set the air pressures the way that they needed to be for qualifying, which is different than where you'd start them for a race run significantly. And it caused Denny Hamlin to only qualify 32nd fastest by a couple of other cars dropping to the tail. He moved up to 28th in the starting grid. Now he's in 5th and working on Tony Stewart for 4th.
Now, I haven't seen many cars or drivers give him a lot of trouble on these passes. I guess I'll ask you, Dale, when you got a guy coming up behind you that's this much quicker, do you just let him go? You don't race him?
There's really no reason to try to hold him back, because you've seen in practice, saw him here the last race, just like Tony Stewart right there. Hey, go ahead, have this spot. I can't hold you back. It's only going to create a problem if I try to at this point in time. Now, later in the race, they'll be much more difficult, but the chances are he's going to be out front later in the race.
So Denny Hamlin charging into the top 5, while Kyle Busch leads the Sylvania 300 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We remind you to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy and watch coverage live from New Hampshire today by following your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Good look at your top 10 coming through there. Here are Clint Boyer in the 15 and Jimmy Johnson in the 48, fighting for 7th and 8th places.
I think Jimmy's got a great car today, but it didn't look all that good to Denny Hamlin when they were racing each other, but he's making passes here, moving his way forward.
Yeah, I'll call it a really good car if we're going to call Denny's great.
Okay.
Jimmy's is really good as he takes this spot away from Clint Boyer. Boyer, I've been watching him since the restart. His car, not quite as good. It doesn't seem like it's what he was on that first run, Dave.
Not great, DJ, right? Not great compared to the 48 right now. He talked about his car being tight in the middle of the center, so he got an adjustment, and by golly, right now, it is loose. Jamie?
Well, Jimmy Johnson told me pre-race he needs a target, and today his target is that 11. Well, now that Denny Hamlin has passed him, he has his sights set on him. Jimmy's saying the car is very comfortable, though. They took right sides on that last stop, and you can see from where he started today, he is moving in the right direction.
It's a good thing he's still young and has good eyesight to be able to see that 11.
I was still trying to figure out what else you were going to call Denny Hamlin's car if you weren't going to call it great.
Yeah, so you got Denny Hamlin's car is great. Jimmy's is good.
Really good.
What's Boyer's? Okay, maybe?
Yeah, okay right now. But I think Boyer will make his better. And I was going to say early on, this racetrack is still going through a change with getting rubber back down. So you have to be careful on that first pit stop to making adjustments, not trying to go too far because things will continue to change a little bit.
Yeah, I know Kyle Busch is leading, but Denny Hamlin has been the story in the opening 65 laps of this race. Brad Keselowski, championship leader, coming in, really hasn't made any progress in the race so far.
Yeah, I spent some time with Paul Wolf this morning. They were making some changes on the car. Said they were going back to some stuff more traditional for them or more conventional. They tried a few things in practice that weren't really measuring up, but it doesn't look like it's not bad. It's just not, they're just not making any progress like I thought we would see out of them today. But one thing I like about this team, and I see them do, they execute so well that they're never out of it. I mean, they're going to find a way to claw their way back into this race before the end.
And a long way to go in this one. Brad Keselowski only picked up essentially one position in the opening 66 laps of this race. Kyle Busch is in the number 1 position here in New Hampshire right now. The fishing fleet has served us well this weekend, and after a weekend of knocking down some of New England's finest seafood, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers are out on the New Hampshire Motor Speedway Magic Mile, going hard. Denny Hamlin has been the story of the race so far, from 28th on the grid up to the top 4, less than a third of the way into the Sylvania 300 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And a great look down on this mile track from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Let's reset the front of the field and get some updates on the lead cars as we go up to speed. Kyle Busch being covered today by Jamie Little.
And Alan, I talked to his crew chief this morning, Dave Rogers, and he told me now that they're not in the chase, the pressure is off. So their goal, outpoint every chaser in the field. I know that seems lofty, but they're very confident in their race cars. They're out to win races. They're not worried about anything else. And so far, they've been running up front. Car is good, Doc.
And speaking of good and getting better, how about Casey Kane, who won here in July? Kenny Francis adjustment, air out of the right front, going one down on the right rear. And now what was a very tight race car is a very loose car, uncomfortable loose, but it's very fast. Vince.
Jeff Gordon still fighting the tight on throttle condition. He wanted his spotter, Eddie DeHaan, to give him a bird's eye view of where the 18 is better than him. And DeHaan told him, you're better than the 18 off 2, but he's rolling a lot of speed into 3 and beat you center off 3 and 4. So always keeping an eye on the competition, Doc.
And story of the day, we talked about Denny Hamlin wanting to be in the top 10 by lap 100. He got there by lap 55. And folks, he is still moving in now in the 24 car. And guess what? The car is still tight. It's not as good as it actually could be. And that's scary. Jamie.
Steve Addington brought a brand new race car here for Tony Stewart. They even took it and tested to try to be better than they were here in July. They learned a lot of things, and so far it's been a success. He just wants the right rear to work a little bit better. He's loose in and off and just a little tight through the center. Behind him, Jimmy Johnson. I've heard him say multiple times today, grill, look at his grill, trash. The wind is picked up, and we've seen it a lot around here. So Jimmy keeping an eye on his temperatures right now. The car, pretty comfortable, though. Dave?
The 39 car of Ryan Newman. In practice, he felt as good as his car was when he won here. The 39 car was tight on the first run. They made a track bar and air pressure adjustment. You can see that the 29 of Kevin Harvick has gotten around him. Remember, Kevin had damage earlier on with his teammate. Let's take in real quick with Gil Martin, crew chief. Gil, we saw the hit earlier. Has the damage affected Kevin's run at all so far?
Well, I mean, these are two-piece noses, so it is cracked open a little bit in front of the right front tire. We're kind of debating right now whether or not we want to fix it because we may be getting a cooling effect from it, and the car is still turning pretty good.
Made a 2-tire stop on that first run. Doc?
And rounding out the 9th place is now Martin Truex Jr., a 3-time winner here in lesser divisions. Good racetrack, one of his home tracks. He says, you know, the car was really tight early on, but now it's loose as heck in turn 1, loose in the center. Everywhere else okay. They plan on putting a spring rubber in on the next stop. Dave.
Behind them, the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. On that first run, NASCAR would not turn the center of the corner. They made a 2-tire stop and changed the air pressure in it. By the way, talking to crew chief Jimmy Fennick this morning, Fennick was as positive as I've heard him here at New Hampshire. He said our car is really pretty good for us here, and we just need a solid run today. Alan?
This has been a track where they have struggled in recent history. But Matt Kenseth in the top 10 for the moment. Clint Boyer slipped through there as we were doing our up to speed because he passed Ryan Newman and he passed a couple of others. But Boyer, two-time winner of this race, up to 7th position. Remember we saw him a little earlier, kind of struggling a little bit. Looks like on that first pit stop, they were able to help him.
He was talking about his car gotten a little bit looser.
You got a slow car coming out by half a lap here, man.
Right,
You'll see him down here in
right now.
Little crease the corner of that 39 car, but he did finish the pass. 80 laps down. Chasers in 9 of the top 10 spots, but Kyle Busch not in the championship out front.
Welcome back to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You can follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 light camera views. Kyle Busch currently out front, but let's take an inside look and get unlimited access to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series mobile app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. Surprise, surprise, the biggest mover, Denny Hamlin. He started 32nd. Right now he's running in 2nd. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app only from Sprint. Get the app and Sprint's truly unlimited data plan at sprint.com/speed. What can we say about Denny Hamlin, who right now is the fastest driver on the track?
I've never seen a car this fast at this racetrack in a long time. Last night we were talking to Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, Casey Kane. They all three said, man, I have never seen a car this fast in practice. They were scared of him yesterday.
Yeah.
We were talking to him a lot last night. But one thing I would say, guys, is look, we know he's fast right now. We know he's rocking and rolling out there. But can he take it to the end? They've been making a lot of mistakes and can't close the deal of late for whatever reason.
Yeah, we also saw Tony Stewart have a great car early on. But Denny Hamlin, just like Rusty says, we spent a lot of time with Clint Boyer and Jeff last night. And they both said, along with Casey Kane, they have never seen anything like this. If he gets to the front, we are racing for second. He is on a rail, and right now, Denny Hamlin is flat getting around this place right.
And you know, every week we talk about how incredibly close these cars are and the times are closing. You know, this car does have a speed advantage time-wise, but what really has impressed me is his ability to maneuver that thing through traffic, to pass. We always talk about how difficult it is to pass. He's passing unbelievably. What a run.
You can join our conversation on Twitter, which leads me to introduce Marty Smith. He's monitoring what you're saying with our chase chatter, and I know a lot of people just like us, they're talking about Denny Hamlin as well.
Indeed they are, Nicole. Everyone is talking about what Denny Hamlin is doing today. At Nursing Holly says he did guarantee a win, didn't he?
Did.
And another one that stood out to me is from Matt D. McGrew. We'll know what kind of car Denny Hamlin has when he reaches the top 5. Well, he's made it, and he's picking them off one by one, just past Casey Kane for second place. I spoke with Darian Grubb this morning, his crew chief, and I asked, what championship aspects do you see out of Denny Hamlin right now? You won a championship with Tony Stewart in 2011. He said it's very simple, maturation. He's matured so much in his ability to handle adversity, and it has permeated this entire team. Rusty, you've won a championship at this level. What do you see out of Denny?
Right now, he just understands what he needs out of his car. I like exactly what Ray said. He's got a car right now that maneuvers around the racetrack. Marty, many times I didn't have the fastest car, but I had a car to do what I wanted to do on certain parts of the racetrack. And that's what Denny's got going right now. It's working great for him.
Denny Hamlin is one of those drivers we talked about earlier, needing a bit of momentum after last week in Chicago. He was on the lead lap until they ran out of fuel late in the race. Another driver looking for momentum is Jeff Gordon. He started on pole. Brad, right now he's in 4th.
Yeah, Jeff's doing a good job. He's actually bounced back, picked up some speed in the car. He's trying to get the car a little bit more secure. Jeff wants a secure entry. We've heard him talking to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, a little bit. Not doing a bad job. Jeff hangs around, puts himself in position. He could be a threat at the end of the day. Yeah,
and, you know, we know that nothing breaks momentum like concrete, so he got pricked in the concrete pretty hard last week. But he and Alan Gustafson, the team, rebounded, being on the pole. They've got a good, solid top 5 car. Yep. You know, they're certainly one adjustment away from really getting better.
Oh, and look what's happening there on the left, Alan.
Denny Hamlin finishes the march to the lead.
93 laps. That's what it took.
So he wanted to get into the top 10 by lap 100?
Yeah, he didn't set his sights nearly high enough. That wasn't the same guy that guaranteed a win last week when he got out of the car at Chicago. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that. What'd you think about him saying he was going to win? Well, I wouldn't expect him to think anything less. I mean, he led 150 laps the first time up here. Didn't win the race because of a pit strategy deal. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
That's exactly what they come up here to do, win.
Old cliches get to be old cliches by being true. He can talk the talk because he's walking the walk.
That's right.
I mean, just getting it done.
He's walking the dog right now.
Yeah, if I had that car and his ability, I'd be talking a lot too.
You did a pretty fair job yourself. Denny Hamlin, 28th to the lead before this race is 1/3 through. Can anyone slow him down? Well, the guy that leads the most laps a lot of times here doesn't win. Mountains in Mount Washington nearby, and in the Capital District, in the foothills of those mountains, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where a huge crowd has turned out on this first Sunday of fall to see the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in the second race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Denny Hamlin, the story so far, marching from deep in the starting grid to the front before this race got to its 1/3 mark. Now, while Denny has been marching forward all race long, Tony Stewart, who led the early part of the race, has been sliding back in this segment, Jamie.
Well, he's been saying the same thing, that he's loose in the tight middle. He said it's getting a little bit better now, but they're going to need to adjust on this car if they want to get him back to the front. He said he needs that right rear to work a little bit better, and on that first stop, they did make a wedge adjustment in the right rear, so we'll look for more of that on this next stop, Alan.
All right, Jamie.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to fix. He may have to work with his brake bias a little bit on that loose end if they're going to correct that, helping him turn in the center a little bit, because normally if you make it turn in the center, you'd be a little looser in and off.
Yeah, I think if it was me, I would want to fix that part of the center of the corner, because that's where the speed is, and just have to deal with the loose end. I'd be too afraid to work on that part with the chassis. Like you said, the brakes might be a good place to go there.
Next opportunity on pit road coming up very shortly here at New Hampshire. And a reminder while we wait on those pit stops that later on tonight, the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals final eliminations, 8:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. And then next weekend, the NASCAR crowd is on to the Monster Mile in Dover Nationwide Series, Saturday, 3 Eastern on ESPN. And race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, telecast presented by GoDaddy.com, 1 Eastern, next Sunday here on ESPN. And I wasn't kidding when I said those pit stops were coming up soon, because there are some cars beginning to work their way onto the pit lane. Jamie McMurray, Juan Pablo Montoya, David Ruderman, and Landon Castle have all come in. None of the front runners have as yet come in for their stops. That's Joey Logano, top of the screen, working his way onto the pit lane. Logano running in 16th position at the time of his stop, as Denny Hamlin picks up a little trash on the grill. Joey Logano in, Vince.
Joey Logano coming in has been battling with the center of the corner. We've heard that a lot today. Just can't turn the center too tight. Making the chassis adjustment, 4 tires for Joey Logano. Won his first ever Sprint Cup race right here in New Hampshire. It's a big event for him, but right now they haven't had the car they needed to get to the front.
Brian Vickers started at the back, made a nice charge up to mid-pack. Jamie?
And they're going to take 4 tires. Once again, they did as well on the first stop, and it seemed to help him. Said he wants to run a little bit better on the flat part of the track, but all in all, he's a pretty good car today. Down and away.
Paul Menard was running in the 14th position. His car was freer on this run. They will make an air pressure adjustment. Right behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. restarted 20th, went nowhere. His car was very, very loose. They're going to go back on the track bar adjustment and do something else for the center of the corner for Junior. Vince?
Greg Biffle in that 16, still just a hair tight in the center, but it's loose in. 4 tires, a track bar adjustment, and air pressure for Biffle. Jamie?
Well, they told Kyle to wait until the 11 pitted, but you see the 11 is just now pitting. Kyle Busch wanted more lateral grip, wanted his race car to be a little bit better to try to compete with Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin in from the race lead. Coming to the attention of his crew. Doc?
And believe it or not, Denny Hamlin says the car is still very tight in the middle and tight on throttle. He can't get back in the throttle like he wants to coming up off the corner, yet he's almost 2/10 quicker than anybody else. It'll be a 4-tire change this time. A little bit of an air pressure. They're going to make a chassis adjustment in the left rear. They were talking about it. Now they've waved it off. Left side tire full on Sunoco fuel. Vince.
Jeff Gordon really not happy with his car toward the end of that run. Said it's just too tight on throttle and no drive off. 4-tire change and around in the right rear for the 24. Doc.
Casey Kane talking about a track bar, half a turn, 4 tires and fuel. Here he comes to a stop in the 5 car. Kenny Francis and company talking about Casey being loose in the center, but turning well at the other end of the racetrack. Track bar adjustment, talking about the air pressure left side tires going on. Now a major adjustment is going to take place as Casey leads on the 56 car, Martin Truex Jr. Right rear air pressure up. They're going to put a rubber also in the right rear, spring rubber, because the car is so loose in turn 1 and loose in the middle, he can't even drive it in without about halfway spinning out. Jamie.
And you saw Jimmy Johnson stayed out there and led a lap. He got that extra point as they go to work on the right side. Chad Knaus telling him earlier on, great work, just take care of your equipment. You see it's going to be a 4-tire stop as the second can of fuel goes in. Car has been comfortable.
Matt Kenseth, not yet having pitted, is the race leader. He's going to hit the pit lane this time. Brad Keselowski also going to stay out. Looks like try to lead a lap to get another bonus point for the championship, Dave.
Love those championship points. They will pit now for 4 tires. This run, the biggest issue was loose off the corner. Tick tight in the center, according to Matt. They also wanted the grill cleaned off this time. A little bit of overheating. They'll make an air pressure adjustment, 4-tire change, and more of that Sunoco fuel for Kenseth.
So bonus points toward the championship on this round of pit stops for Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, and Brad Keselowski, who otherwise had not led so far today. And now here comes Brad giving up the lead, and that will hand the top spot and complete the cycle back over to Denny Hamlin. Long way down the pit lane for Keselowski, Vince.
Well, they've been waiting on him to give him the help he needs. It's just free on entry, too tight through the middle, and then free on the throttle as he gets back to it. Here he comes in. Service will be 4 tires, an air pressure adjustment, and filling it up full of Sunoco fuel. Back-to-back top 5 finishes for Brad Keselowski. They haven't in this race, at this racetrack, they haven't had that kind of car here in the early going, but Paul Wolfe said we're going to work on it till we get it there.
Everybody kind of held serve up front. The lead about the same as it was before the round of pit stops began. And the leader the same. Denny Hamlin in command at New Hampshire in the Sylvania 300. Back in New Hampshire, we check in on how our drivers are doing today in the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge from the top 4 qualifiers. Kyle Busch is running closest to the front. Nice job by Brian Vickers after having to go to the back on the start. He's made his way back to mid-pack. And we remind you to text FAST to 34763 to play the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge, or do so by visiting AT&TFastestDriver.com. You could have a chance to win 4 Gs just by playing. Vickers trying to get 16th place from Jeff Burton, Jamie.
And he goes right past him. It was a 4-tire stop, made an air pressure adjustment there just to help him out a little bit, but the car has been good. He just had his hands full all day, having to drop to the back. Now, I asked Brian about his future plans for next year, and I also asked his crew chief. Brian said he has options, but nothing to announce. Rodney Childers, his crew chief, told me they plan on having Brian back in the car for at least 8 races next year, and he also said Joe Gibbs Racing has been talking to him about possibly a nationwide ride next year, Alan.
Brian Vickers doing a great job in that Michael Waltrip Racing Toyota every time he's been in it this season so far. Brad Keselowski, championship leader, starting the race. One of just 2 of the championship chasers not in the top 10 in this race. Check that, one of 3. Denny Hamlin putting Sam Hornish Jr. a lap down. Sam with that tough task this weekend. He raced in the Nationwide Series race yesterday in Kentucky, started this race without any practice or qualifying time in that car.
Yeah, his pit crew's getting it done, though. They're 3rd on our Fast 5 board from those 4-tire stops. Denny Hamlin's crew, though, you see why he's got so much confidence coming into a race like this. They get it done week in and week out.
Andy, when you changed tires and you had a car that was that good and driver getting the job done, did you feel like you need to step it up a little too?
Yeah, it does. It just gives you so when that car comes down pit road as a leader, for some reason you can just dig down, get a little more. You just have that positive energy just overflows, and that's how you make these good pit stops.
So the 11 car had its problems on the last pit stop at Chicagoland last weekend. We documented that on Countdown earlier. Denny came out right after the race, got the explanation of what happened. Opinion from here, how he dealt with that, not only to his crew members, but to the rest of the world, was a big statement on where Denny Hamlin has come in the last few years as a driver.
I think absolutely. A couple of years ago, we would have seen a different Denny Hamlin and a reaction from him, probably saying something negative, and that only makes the situation even worse. But I really like the way that he handled that and supported his guys.
Yeah, I think Joe Gibbs is a big positive influence on this team too. I'm with you too, Dale. I think that Denny has handled this very well. I'm watching this team though to see how Darian handles this, how they eliminate these mistakes. This is a great race team. We can see just how fast they are everywhere. Mistakes are the only things that's going to keep them from being a real contender and maybe even a favorite to win the championship.
They had a mistake at the end of Chicagoland. They had a mistake here on Friday in qualifying. Both were handled well by driver and by team. And in my opinion, it just makes them stronger as a potential championship unit. Now, nobody's proven to be stronger as a championship unit than Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, and this 48 team. And yeah, we're not even halfway through today's race, and they're talking about strategy.
Sure you're taking care of your stuff, easy on your brakes, nice and smooth, good rhythm. Well, let me know on fuel. I can go back to that again. Now, let's keep on going. Let's try to get up there with these guys. We're kind of out of reach of those guys up there. We can get up there on the 24, then we can start relaxing a little bit again.
You can see some of the crew chiefs, especially Chad, the smart ones, are thinking about how this race is looking like it's going to go green a long time. So they're going to try to, at least right now, try to plan for it and then react to a caution flag series if it comes.
And it's easy to react and say, well, why are you saving fuel now? You got at least a couple of more pit stops to go, but the less fuel you use now is the less time you got to spend on pit road if that next stop happens under green.
Yeah, and I think something that's going to help them be able to do those type of things is they have a fast race car. It watched him in that whole run the last time. His car didn't fall off very much. As a matter of fact, it was one of the very best, probably the last 20 laps of the run.
Hope everybody put fresh batteries in the calculator. You're going to need them here in New Hampshire today. The last 4 straight races at this track, strategy has somehow played into. Back live, New Hampshire. Caution out for debris in turn 3. Some of the lead lap cars pitting, some staying on the racetrack. Dave?
7th place, Kevin Harvick will pit this time. He wasn't happy with the last set of adjustments. Said they didn't do anything for my race car, so they said they were going to work on it this time. Vince?
Jeff Gordon says it feels like it's got a ton of rebound in the left rear. They put a spring rubber in the right rear, just right sides. The 2 of Brad Keselowski also made a 2-tire change for Keselowski.
You watch the cars coming off the pit lane who did stop. It's most of the lead lap cars, but not all. Casey Kane off the pit lane first of the cars that came down the pit lane. Those who did not included the race leader, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, Martin Truex Jr., and Matt Kenseth. They stayed on the racetrack under this yellow flag. Out of those first 3 rows of cars, everyone except Casey Kane stayed on the racetrack under this caution. Kane the first off the pit lane, restarting 6th. Denny Hamlin leads him to the green. Clint Bowyer sliding into 3rd position, clearing his teammate Martin Truex Jr. While you watch this nastiness, that orange car, top of the screen, Joey Logano, is the first one that took 4 tires on the pit stop. Everybody from Casey Kane back through Logano just took right side tires that came down the pit lane.
Well, most of the people that took right sides had just changed all 4 tires under green about roughly 20 laps before that. So they don't have many laps on the lefts.
Yeah, as long as you get those left sides cleaned off, I felt a lot of times I could get my car up and going a lot better with just those 2 right side tires on this racetrack where it is so difficult.
Be at halfway in this race very quickly. Stay tuned for NASCAR nonstop coverage during the second half of today's race, presented from New Hampshire by 5 Hour Energy. Stories of this race so far. If you haven't been with us the whole way through, Denny Hamlin started deep in the pack, stormed his way to the front to the race lead before lap 100. Tony Stewart started up front, slipped back. Now that 14 car starting to rally and regain that lost ground.
A little contact there.
Yeah, a lot of racing going on back here that's in kind of that lucky dog spot. You see Kurt Busch make a big move, Marcus Ambrose there. The 2 drivers that are up ahead of that, Jamie McMurray and Sam Hornish, had cleared that.
I think we've seen this 14 car be good in the shorter part of the run. I think as it runs green and goes to the end, his car doesn't hang on quite as good as some of the others, unless they've made an adjustment for that.
Just moved to 5th place, passing Casey Kane, did Tony Stewart. This what you were talking about?
Yeah. See, Jamie Murray got a good run. Sam Hornish a little loose there. Montoya loose. Eric Almirola was kind of getting the worst of all of that.
What was that?
Hand out the window there. Want to know what in the world you wanted to run into the side of me for? You had a whole racetrack.
They've been tuning on that 14 car a little bit, Jamie?
They sure have. And Andy, you were talking about as a crew chief how difficult it is to fix the problems he's having. Tight through the center, loose in and loose off. So what they did on that last stop, they took right sides, they went down a half round on the track bar, and they also made an air pressure adjustment in those right sides. And you see now it's helping him. He says he's just a tick free off, and he's still a little tight through the center, but better.
Yeah, looks like Steve Addington, the crew chief's made a good adjustment there, Jamie.
Pitted from 10th place. He's worked his way back up into the top 5 since the restart.
See what they've done with their pit stops on lap 42 there at the competition caution. They took 2 tires, and then the 4 tires under green, and 2 tires that last stop with that adjustment.
So Tony Stewart, the defending winner of this race, after falling back in the top 10 and just outside of the top 10, has moved back into the top 5. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be the next car lapped by leader Denny Hamlin when that caution flag came out, so a nice break there for the 88.
Yeah, they got 4 tires on that and made some adjustment, hopefully, for that. They had high hopes coming in as they ran into the top 5 in this race back here in July, so they haven't shown the speed here in practice sessions or the race so far. How about it, Dave?
Made some adjustments. They checked wedge, track bar, air, and then they checked other. They removed the spring rubber from the right rear of the car. They're just not sure about the right rear right now. Junior felt like it wasn't building up the way that it was supposed to. It was mostly loose earlier, but he just couldn't go anywhere once he got stuck back in traffic.
So Junior right now running in 16th position, trying to find a way around Brian Vickers for 15th.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dale. I expected a little more out of that 88 car this week.
So 2 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas running 1 and 2, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Then 2 more Michael Waltrip Racing Toyotas running 3rd and 5th. Or is it about to be 6th as Martin Truex Jr. gets passed by Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson trying to march back towards the front here after getting his 2 tires. See, he's passed Casey Kane and now Martin Truex. Watching Martin Truex's teammate up in front up there is in the 3rd spot. Looked like Clint Boyer's car took off really good. He's actually starting to run down Kyle Busch a little bit. But after they got about 10 laps on the tires here now, he's kind of stabilized. I thought it looked like that the adjustments they had made were going to be enough for him to run up there and challenge.
Jeff Gordon trying to regain some lost ground. Looking for 9th place on Matt Kenseth. Remember, Matt, one of the drivers that did not pit under that last yellow flag. Gordon started on pole in this event, led the first 3 laps, then fell back. Found something in his line on the car, we heard him say on the radio in the opening run, and then the crew continuing to make adjustments on this 24 car, and Vince, he's working his way back up through the top 10.
Well, he's trying to. We noted during that pit stop they put a spring rubber in the right rear, and Jeff was a little bit confused as to why they were going to make that change. And now he says that they've taken all the rear grip out of the car that he had before. So they're trying to find the sweet spot with this, but they're searching around and haven't really gotten it to his liking as of yet. It's not good. Starting to slip back just a bit.
Well, those race cars can be frustrating things to work on, can't they?
Yeah.
Coming up on halfway here in New Hampshire in the Sylvania 300. Time to go NASCAR nonstop. Presented today by 5 Hour Energy. Just across halfway in the Sylvania 300 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. A tough 1-mile racetrack being taken on today by some pretty tough drivers.
Tough guys. It's a bit of a cliche.
He checked up early and I hit him.
They say they're gonna run over you and rattle your cage. Now tough guys means doing 190 in ungodly heat. It's no longer just about here. It's about here.
Well, no one's had a better ride today than Denny Hamlin, who started deep in this field, worked his way all the way to the front of the pack, and has already become the guy that's led more laps than anyone else today in the Sylvania 300. Hamlin out in front of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Kyle Busch by 1.8 seconds. There's the gap, first to second, with Clint Boyer just a touch behind. Kyle Busch riding in 3rd position.
Yeah, you can see the 48 car Jimmy Johnson coming up there also.
There's Jimmy. Also had a nice drive up through traffic after starting back in 20th position.
Tony Stewart, he's running good this segment, but the 5 car starting to come alive a little bit here.
Tony, the winner of this race last September. Casey Kane, winner of the last race at New Hampshire for the Sprint Cup Series back in July.
I'm sure he was expecting those 2 tires to do a little bit more to help his progress towards the front be a little bit quicker, but hanging pretty tight.
There's Kevin Harvick. Now, in your classification of race cars, we've had great, and we've had sporty, and we've had a good.
Okay.
So Kevin has been kind of in the backside of the top 10 most of the race. Where would you classify the 7th place runner?
Yeah, I think he's got a good race car. It just
all the way to the good.
I think it's good. Yeah. Now, like Jimmy Johnson, who was really good at one point, then he got to be pretty sporty, which is kind of in between where Denny Hamlin's car is great.
And right behind Kevin Harvick is Jeff Gordon, who might have had a car that fit all of those classifications at various times.
He's gone through all the phases here so far, I think, yes.
And right now, I think we classify him as good, and maybe even sporty. He had the 2nd quickest lap, last lap.
Gordon running in 8th. Brad Keselowski, championship leader, starting the day, running in 9th position. Quiet, not a spectacular day for the 2 so far.
I've had one eye on him most of the race because he didn't seem very good in the beginning part. But like I said earlier, he's just so tough. His team is so resilient. They can come back from just about anything, and Brad never gives up. He's out there driving as hard as he can. They've made some pretty good adjustments, and now I'm ready to rank his car now. Okay. Okay.
He's made it good. Here comes that sporty 48 right now. He's moving towards the front, headed in the right direction. You got to like that.
That's 3rd place that Johnson has just taken over. Now, filling out the top 10, driver who restarted in 4th position when we went back racing after that last caution flag, and now he's all the way back in 10th, and that's 56 car Martin Truex Jr. Doc, what's he saying about this car? Is it sporty or something else?
Well, what I can tell you, he said, is that is that the right front tire is junk. Basically, he said they are loose in the turn one, and he's wearing that right front tire out. And he's in there really tight in the middle, trying to get the car to turn. And they got a plan, though. Chad Johnson said we're going to take air out of the left side tires in our next stop, and 4 tires of fuel. Right now, said Martin just got to try to hang on. Really free entry, really tight middle. Not a good combination, guys.
This won't go with the damn left ship both just slide.
10-4, man. You got about 25 to the stop.
Running right behind Martin Truex is Matt Kenseth. He was one of the cars that stayed out as well on this last round of pit stops. He restarted 5th, has fallen back. His car was loose off, but not horrible, according to the driver. He has kept his mouth shut this run while others with tires go by him, guys.
So we're going to get to that point, not all that far from now, where the guys who didn't pit under that last yellow are going to have to start visiting the pit lane for some fuel.
Yeah, probably 15, maybe even 20 laps.
Yep. Right side, the Kenseth and Truex race, putting a lap on Mike Olson, the 2-time, what was then NASCAR Busch North Series champion, making his first Sprint Cup Series start today. And Jeff Gordon trying to gain another spot, left side, working on Kevin Harvick for 7th.
And it looks like Gordon's car is pretty much to his liking right now. He's been able to make some passes and since that last one, and here comes Jimmy Johnson moving forward, also trying to take this 2nd spot away from Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I think for sure Jimmy Johnson's car is the best of the rest. When we compare it to Denny Hamlin, I'm not so sure. We'll see now when he gets 2nd spot what he can do with Denny.
Well, maybe a different strategy this week where he let all the laps, seemed like last week, and was passed at the end. Maybe he's going to do that.
He's got a little fresher tires right now than Denny, so if he's ever going to make up some ground on him, now's the time.
Well, as we just saw, he's got some ground to make up to catch Denny Hamlin. Because Denny has opened up a gap of 4 seconds over 2nd place. Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Race for 4th place At New Hampshire Motor Speedway, you saw the beginnings of the pass in NASCAR Nonstop. You saw the completion of the pass. And now you'll see the attempt at the repass.
Unsuccessful.
Casey Kane getting a spot from Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, the only driver not in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, running in the top 11 positions in this race. Denny Hamlin leading. We take an inside look and get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint Network. Denny has led the most laps today and counting. Hamlin's crew is also doing their share to contribute to the cause. They've had the fastest 4-tire pit stop so far today. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app only from Sprint. Get the app and Sprint's truly unlimited data plan at sprint.com/speed. So you'd think from starting deep in the pack, roaring to the front, leading the most laps, all that kind of stuff, Denny Hamlin would just be a happy guy behind the wheel, right?
So hard to control this thing down the straightaway.
10-4. Why, you're the man, bud. You can handle it here.
Yeah, I think the way I make of that comment, he's talking about the straightaway. It looks like he's doing great in the corners. But some of these teams are doing a lot with the rear suspension, the way they steer the cars to get a lot of side force. And I'm not so sure that it's not what he's referring to about going down the straightaway, because that's some of the negative effects you get from this type of setup.
Kyle Busch slipping back late in this run on his set of tires, Jamie.
And it's not good, Alan. If you're down here, you can hear it. The 18 has dropped a cylinder. He led 48 laps today, was running second, and he said, guys, something's wrong. And you can hear it down here. Now, keep in mind, he's blown 3 engines already this year. This is the 4th one going bad. And remember, this team, they were just going for the win, Alan. Not a happy driver behind the wheel.
Lead off all your gauges, bud.
They're all fine. I would tell you if there was something wrong. I'm not stupid.
10-4, bud. I wasn't blind now. I was just doing it for my documents, but we'll get off you. Keep taking, man.
Well, for Kyle Busch, another day with a great race car that he's not going to have much to show for it at the end.
He did have a fast race car, and it's just so unfortunate if they do indeed have a problem here.
Yeah, you're watching, you can see right there. I mean, it looked decent down the straightaway. I'm not sure they're down a complete cylinder there. I'm not saying there's anything wrong.
Yes.
It just hasn't manifested itself enough to where it's visible.
But you know, a lot of times at a place like this, as you start slowing down, you're losing, hasn't had tires on for a while, you start to think that there is something wrong there. But going through the corner, still pretty sporty right here. I mean, he's able to keep the RPMs up there some, and keeping Kevin Harvick behind him right now. Whoa. That makes him drive bad down the straightaway, too.
Yeah, it does, but I watched right there, and it looked to me like the car was pulling fine down the straightaway. But I'll tell you what, when a driver says that there's something wrong with the engine, I mean, 9 times out of 10 or more, it's usually something wrong. I'm sure Kevin didn't mean to do that.
Just a little nudge. Racing hard. Harvick and Kyle Busch here for 7th and 8th places.
Like Brad's kind of liking this battle. He was able to close in on both of these cars, and I think he's got the fastest car of these 3.
Championship leaders starting today. And a caution flag has just come out.
Debris. Yellow's out.
Turn number 1. Debris. Yellow in the nick of time for people like Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch that had not pitted under the caution flag back at lap 128.
It's been about 70 laps since Denny Hamlin has been on pit road.
How's your forward drive?
It's going away a little bit.
Denny Hamlin and Darian Grubb. And you'll see just how little time they have to decide what to do about that. That was the feedback, and Denny's going to be on pit road here in about another 30 seconds or so. 3rd caution of the race, Sam Hornish Jr. will get the free pass. And the decision made. don't have much time to think on top of that pit box. You better have a plan.
That's exactly right.
So the guys that have reached the end of that fuel window and the guys who are not, who pitted under that last caution. This sets up a little strategy opportunity.
Yeah, we might see one of those leapfrog sessions here under this yellow.
All right, Dave.
15 car talking 4 tires. A little tighter now in the center, down on rear grip. Wedge into the left rear. Jamie.
Jimmie Johnson saying in the middle of that run he was still a little free, couldn't run as hard through the center. It'll be a wedge adjustment on the right rear. Right sides, they work their way around to the left, Doc.
Right upper corner, Casey Kane, 4 tires, no changes. Carpenter's a test stop on lap 130, but below on the right side, Denny Hamlin, our leader, says still tight in the middle. A little help with the drive off. 4 tires, little air pressure change in the rear. He's away. Vince.
Little strategy played by Brian Vickers and team.
And Joey Logano's team. Wow, look at that 16th spot for the 20.
Track position gained. Kyle Busch's team trying to figure out what's wrong. Caution out, 3rd time here at New Hampshire.
When you harness all of your power, you end up with something truly powerful.
It's nice, but the real focus is on the championship. It's round 2 of the countdown. 5 more races to determine the NHRA champions.
Coverage of Monday Night Football continues tomorrow. First at 6:30, it's Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Then at 8:30, reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers leads the Packers into CenturyLink Field with our face surprise rookie starter Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. It's Monday Night Football, Packers-Seahawks tomorrow, 8:30 on ESPN. You can join our conversation in the pit studio on Twitter. And earlier, we asked you to tweet us your seats. Some pretty good seats out here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. There we are on the big board. Some in the corner.
Oh, that's a great shot.
That's a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
That'd be a good place to watch the race.
Great crowd.
From pre-race for driver intros. We like Dougie Fresh. Marty Smith is in here right now. A lot of guys are saying this is a must-win for the 24.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nicole. At Tim Stratton 24 said today is a breaking point, essentially a must-win for the 24 team. 48YM48 says, I think it's do or die for at Jeff Gordon Webb. Of course, that's Jeff's Twitter handle. If he doesn't finish well, he's out of the chase. I talked to Jeff this weekend. He told me it will have to be an extraordinary effort, borderline miraculous, for them to get this done, Nicole.
Well, let's see what he's got on his restart, Alan.
Lined up in 6th position. 2 cars right of your screen. Vickers in the lead. Logano in the orange 20. 2 tires on the stop. Denny Hamlin, the dominant car, and about everybody else on the lead lap with a 4-tire stop.
Well, what a huge run Denny Hamlin got off of turn 2. You can see he was about 4 car lengths behind Brian Vickers.
Well, no shame in giving up the lead to Denny Hamlin for Brian Vickers. He started last. They moved up from 14th coming down pit road to the lead on the stops with the strategy call by Rodney Childers. But Denny Hamlin has been the man so far today. Jimmie Johnson on Joey Logano for 3rd place, 48-20. Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer behind him. They bang a little bit.
Well, that was close. I don't know if they banged or not. But if they didn't, it was probably only because Boyer was able to give Tony Stewart a little bit of room. Tony pretty aggressive on this restart.
Some damage on Jeff Burton's car. Looks like he had some contact.
Looks like he got loose under Regan Smith. You can see the contact they made. And then Junior hits that left rear corner, which has already been hit once today. We saw him get damage there from his teammate Kevin Harvick early in the race.
Here's third place for Jimmy Johnson. Look at that, left side's all the way below the yellow line on that 48 car.
You see, he's late getting back to the throttle there, though. Logano to close right back up on his bumper. And in turn, here comes Tony Stewart. There's so many ways, different ways to drive this racetrack. Using that apron part that we saw Jimmy Johnson go down to. A lot of drivers will not drive it in quite as far. They'll actually get back to the gas a little before the center of the corner, out of the gas again, and then try to hammer it up off the corner. Other drivers want to get in there really hard, let it roll to the center, get their car turned and drive up off. So a lot of different ways to do that. And when you're trying to make a pass, sometimes you have to change the way that you normally would do it just to take advantage of another car's weakness.
Fifth place here, Boyer 15, Logano 20. Isn't that one of the fascinating things about NASCAR Sprint Cup racing, right? Every playing field, every track is different, and the challenge to a driver and a team is different every week. So Denny Hamlin is back up front, Doc.
Indeed he is, but prior to that stop, we heard Denny a couple of times say, guys, this is so hard to control on the straightaway. The crew have been talking down here about some sloppiness in the steering box. Let's ask Darian Grubb. Darian, what's the issue with the steering box and the sloppiness on the straightaway? What's the problem?
It's just got a little bit of a wander feel to it. We're not sure exactly what it's doing. We've been chasing that pretty much all season with what's been going on with race cars, but evidently it must make the cars pretty fast, so we'll let him deal with it.
All right, they've been chasing it, and obviously you don't mind having it be a problem when you're as fast as the 11 car is today, guys.
Well, I would at least wait till it was affecting something. I mean, I know that he's talking about the comfort of the car, but as long as you can get out front and lead the race, I don't care really how comfortable it is.
I don't know. He's talking about wondering. I'm wondering what will happen if they get that fixed, how fast he makes it. Oh, little contact there. Paul Menard into the quarter panel of Greg Biffle. Biffle looks like he's struggling once again, along with his teammate there beside him, Carl Edwards.
Biffle and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who we're riding with here, the two of the 12 championship chasers that have lagged most of the day behind the rest of the group. The rest of the group for most of the race has been up in the top 10 or 11 spots, except for these two. Biffle sliding back in the early going of the race, and he's kind of run just outside of the top 10 for a lot of the day. He started 13th, and on the break just kind of never really got going in this 16 car today, Vince.
That's exactly right, Alan. And Matt Pusha, the crew chief, maybe told the story early on. He said, if we're struggling on entry with loose in, it could be a long day. If we're good there, we're going to be good. But they have fought on that loose entry all day long, and they just haven't been able to make any headway on it. That's been a big difference. They made a lot of adjustments on that last stop, but it hasn't really helped them much.
All right, Vince, so Biffle running back in 16th position, watching this race for spots on the backside of the top 10. Casey Kane picking up 8th position in the 5 car. He's got Newman, Keselowski, Harvick, and more right with him. Truex and Matt Kenseth also in that group. But so far, it's been another dominant day in New Hampshire for Denny Hamlin. He dominated in July, but didn't win. A lot of racing still to go today.
The perfect photo.
Nice.
Isn't always the one you've planned to take.
Whoa, check it out.
Watching Denny Hamlin continue to lead the Sylvania 300 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Later on tonight, you can see the final eliminations in the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals on ESPN2 at 8:30 Eastern Time. And next weekend, NASCAR's on to the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. Nationwide Series Saturday at 3 Eastern ESPN. Sprint Cup Series telecast presented by GoDaddy.com next Sunday, 1 Eastern on ESPN. Our 5-hour Energy Rapid Recap show you what's happened so far today here at New Hampshire. Denny Hamlin has been the story of the day. Took the green flag, 28th on the grid. He was leading by lap 100.
Yeah, this car's been just incredible right here. He passes 2 cars in 1 corner. Takes the lead from Kyle Busch.
And after promising after difficulties at the end of the race at Chicagoland last Sunday that he would win today, so far, so good for Hamlin. On the championship contender end of not so good, Dale Jr.'s not been much of a factor.
Yeah, just hasn't been able to show the speed that's needed here. He struggled in practice. They made a lot of adjustments throughout the day, but still just not getting what he needs out of that 88 car.
Cautions on the day have, for the most part, all been for debris. A competition caution because of overnight rain was the first one. Then the other 2 cautions in the race, both for debris. Denny Hamlin's done a lot of the leading. And there is the championship picture, as most of the top contenders for the title have been somewhere in the top 10 for a lot of this race. Another story we've seen throughout the course of what's kind of a breezy day on the first Sunday of autumn here in New England is a lot of trash on the grills of these race cars.
I saw some on the front of that 11 car, but actually a pretty big piece on it. You see Jimmy Johnson take that second spot from Vickers. Vickers doing a good job today.
Left side of that grill opening. What you talking about there, Andy?
Well, you can see, yeah, it's just a ton of trash on that grill.
And everybody's been pretty fortunate so far that either that got off or they were able to make a pit stop to get it off. How about this, Doc?
Well, they told Denny about the debris, and they said keep an eye on the temperature there, the water temperature. Darian has told him. Now, a few laps ago, Denny said we're okay, and then I think he said they're trying to hear back again, rising. And obviously everything's been going well for him today, but Darian watching closely, listening to his driver and watching that temperature gauge. They're about 16 laps away from their window opening for their final pit stop, but right now water temperature could be a concern.
I think he wanted to duck in behind that 32 car and try and use the slipstream to knock that debris off, but Mike Olson was heading for the pit lane, and that didn't work out. So there's second and third. Jimmy Johnson second. Brian Vickers started at the back because his team had to change engines between final practice and the race, and a little strategy's gotten them up to third.
Yeah, this car's really solid, and Brian's done an excellent job every time he's been in this race car this year. They've been around the top 5, led some laps. Just doing another tremendous job here today. And not to race any more than Vickers does, to be able to have the feel that he still does and get the most out of these cars. Shows how good a team this is, but also shows his talent.
Yeah, it does show what kind of team it is, and I think that's the key thing. Mark Martin's been a big part of that this season and helping all the Michael Waltrip cars, but especially this 55 team.
Michael Waltrip Racing, we talked about on NASCAR Countdown earlier. Brian Vickers in just his 7th start of the season in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and the 7th of 8 that he will make this year. There is Clint Boyer and one of the other Michael Waltrip Racing cars. Boyer running in 5th position, and a third of the 3 cars, Martin Truex Jr. running in 12th position and racing Matt Kenseth for that spot. 93 laps to go. Denny Hamlin leading, but lots of racing still to come at New Hampshire. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Tonight on baseball's biggest stage, Adrian Gonzalez and the Dodgers try to keep their wild card hopes alive as they go on the road to take on Joey Votto and the National League Central leading Reds. It's Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Dodgers Reds at 8 Eastern, also available live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Dodgers 3 games out in that National League wild card. Atlanta and the Cards holding those spots. What do you think? Can they get there?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. Atlanta playing awfully well when you get a wild card spot. And Cincinnati already wrapped up a spot in the playoffs.
Here in New Hampshire, 86 laps to go with Denny Hamlin leading. As you saw in NASCAR Nonstop, that junk that was on the grill of Denny Hamlin's car is not there anymore. A little help from his friends and teammates to get it done.
And Kyle Busch struggling with this kind of a sick engine. Uses this opportunity to help his teammate. See it fly off right there before he even gets to the bumper. He turns the fan off and just tries to get up there where that low pressure area is, right behind Kyle Busch. And there goes the trash.
Pretty effective stuff. And Denny Hamlin able to alleviate his own concerns about overheating and continue to lead laps here at New Hampshire. Hamlin, our Goodyear Superior performer today, started 28th, has led 112 of 215 laps. and really been the dominant driver. So Hamlin looking to score Joe Gibbs Racing's 100th victory. Dale, I know you scored a number of those back in your days, including a Daytona 500 win for the coach.
Yeah, that's how we got him started with victories there in 93 500. But a couple of those, Hamlin and Tony Stewart and company of Bobby Labonte obviously doing his part with championship and a number of wins. So could be that number 100 today.
So back in the July race here, Denny Hamlin led 150 laps, but a miscommunication before the final pit stop under caution saw this team get 4 tires instead of 2, get shuffled back to 14th, and despite a tremendous charge by Denny, he came up 1 spot short and finished second. So you're back behind the wheel. You've got another car that's just as dominant as the one you had before. You've still got that pit stop to go. At any time, does that begin to creep into that helmet or that headset on the pit box, or is that able to just be completely shut out?
Let's just don't mess it up, is what I'm thinking. That's what I would be thinking, knowing how good a car you got. Just don't mess it up. You don't need to do anything special, great. Just do your deal and don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, and I think it was a little bit of miscommunication. I think they'll probably have a better line of that today.
And we saw Kyle Busch earlier reporting potential engine troubles. Jamie's a lap down. They had a look under the hood on that last pit stop.
Yes, they did, and his crew chief, Dave Rogers, did confirm to me he thinks it is a cylinder that has gone down. He said he can hear the engine pulsating, but regardless, it's internal. There's nothing they can do about it. All they can do is ride around. On the flip side, you saw him help out his teammate, Denny Hamlin. But the day started bright for Kyle, who led 48 laps, but now he's just trying to stay out of the way of the chasers.
Tough day for the 18, while their Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Denny Hamlin has been dominant so far. Last round of pit stops still to play out here at New Hampshire. Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by 5 Hour Energy. The second race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, the Sylvania 300, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, on a spectacular first Sunday of fall. Denny Hamlin has been spectacular so far in this 11 car. As we reset with Fresh Off the Wire, served by KFC. Hamlin, the dominant driver so far. The 13 lead changes helped a lot by green flag pit stops that we've had today. But Hamlin has been out in front for 122 of the 225 laps. Brian Vickers with a solid drive, including a little track position play. And so far, most all of the championship chasers running solidly. The worst of them is back in 16th position. Still to come, another round of pit stops. They'll be happening very soon. Will we see another caution flag that will change the strategy picture around in the big end of this race? As I see the final segments of this race playing out, I've got kind of 3 or 4 players on my mind. First are the first 2 drivers on the track, Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson. They've both shown strength in moving through the traffic. Can Johnson and company find some way to get to this 11 and get the win?
I haven't seen any evidence of it yet. I mean, I think that Jimmy's got a good car. I'm not sure we've seen everything that 11 car can do because he's had a good cushion most of the day. I'm not sure that Jimmy's got anything for him.
I think the only thing that beats the 11 today is the 11 making another mistake somewhere along the way. We saw them do that last weekend and certainly here in qualifying, but you know, they've rectified all those problems. Jimmy Johnson's got a really, really good race car. You know, if it gets to the point he could get a restart beside of Denny Hamlin, then he could make some difference there.
Brian Vickers running 3rd, and here's Clint Boyer running in 4th position, having a solid day, Dave.
And his crew among those down here loosening up, getting ready for the final pit stop. And if your crew chief, Brian Patty, a little tough to tell what to do for your driver.
Make sure all your fans are on. Come on! Find us a 10th here, man. You gotta light me up with something. What you're doing ain't doing. Air pressure, air pressure, air pressure. Haven't done air pressure but 1 stop. It's been a wedge, bud.
Okay, maybe not so tough. Tighten him up. And part of the reason for the loose race car, Brian told me, even though they finished 3rd in July, the car was too tight all day long. So it's been on the loose side, and Clint needs him to nail it on the final stop.
Never let it be said that there's no emotion in Clint Boyer's voice in the middle of a race.
Yeah, he's telling him what he needs.
Jeff Gordon picking up a spot, sliding around Tony Stewart. That puts Gordon into 5th position. Gordon started on pole, led the first few laps of the race. An ill-handling car dropped him back in traffic some. They have made constant adjustments on this 24 each time down the pit lane, and now he's moving closer to the front.
Yeah, and it's solid, but I think we're seeing something with Tony Stewart once again that Andy pointed out earlier. His car's pretty good on the shorter runs, but after he get up over 40 laps, it seems like they really struggled with Tony's car.
Thinking about 9 laps till we see green flag pit stops by some of these front runners. Denny Hamlin leading today at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. From pit lane to victory lane, every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Going to be some fresh Goodyears rolling around the pit lane shortly. Question is, how many for these front-running cars? As the green flag has been out for a long time now, and we come up on a set of pit stops for the front runners very, very soon. In fact, that strategy being discussed on the 4th place driver's radio a minute ago. Brian Vickers.
Here's the deal, bud. Pretty much everybody only needs 1 can of fuel to make it to the end. So if it goes green here and we pit under green, pretty much everybody up front is going to take 2 tires and just 1 can of gas just to be the shortest amount of time on pit road. So to hold our position right here in 3rd, that's probably what we're going to have to do also. If you're doing awesome, them guys behind you aren't catching it at all.
Rodney Childers, the crew chief for Brian Vickers, speaking there.
Yeah, obviously a couple of people have started catching him now as Jeff Gordon goes by and takes that 4th spot now away from him, and Clint Moore had already taken that. So that's going to be a lot of laps on those left side tires for that 55 if that's what they decide to do.
I'm not sure that the laps on the left side tires would be my biggest concern of that communication I heard. I'm not sure it's not going to take just a little bit more than 1 can of fuel to make it to the end.
I'll guarantee you that 11 gets plenty of fuel in there.
After running out with a lap and a half or so to go at Chicagoland last week and losing 7 positions on the last lap. Tony Stewart slipping back a little bit at the end of a long green run, a pattern we've seen for much of the day. Casey Kane in the 5 working on Stewart's 14 car for 6th place here. And Ryan Newman, 39, racing with Kevin Harvick in the 29 for 9th and 10th place.
And Ryan Newman being a teammate of Tony Stewart, his car's some similarities too there. Pretty fast on the fresher tires, but then falls off a little bit, and now Harvick trying to take that spot away.
Tony just gives it to him.
It was a bad lap for Stuart Haas.
Yeah, the same lap. Looks like Newman gave that spot to the 29.
Kyle Busch in. Remember, not on the lead lap. Engine trouble slowing the pace of this 18 car a little while ago. He'd run top 2 or 3 for a lot of the race up to that point. Joey Logano, one of the first lead lap cars to make the move to pit road. Logano took just 2 tires on his last stop for some track position. Gave a lot of that back in this run, Vince.
That's right, Alan. The car's getting better. It's still a little bit too free of the turn, so they've got the wrench in the right rear. Going to make an adjustment there. It's a 4-tire change for Joey Logano. They've been working on it all day long, still trying to find that sweet spot.
Denny Hamlin, the leader, continues by while Dale Earnhardt Jr. hits the pit lane, Dave.
Struggling in 16th position, but the good news is the last adjustment did work. The 2-tire stop, it is tighter than it was before. It was very loose.
And you see Brian Vickers on the left-hand side of your screen making his way down. You heard that chatter on the radio. They thought they'd take 1 can and right sides only. You see the tear-off being torn off the front. All this debris today, a lot of drivers asking for that. They're going to opt to take 4 tires, though, changing up the strategy a little bit as they continue to put gas in that, fill it up with Sunoco fuel, and we'll go to Doc.
Yeah, Martin Truex said the car is the worst it has been all day long. They're talking wedge, major adjustment right rear, air pressure already made. And to top it off, it's going to take more than 1 can of fuel, 1 can going in. Got to get left side tires and get it full of gas. He's away.
Little change of plans there on that 55 car.
They may have recalculated that fuel.
As the leader, Denny Hamlin, slows for his final pit stop. This would be with 55 laps to go. Greg Biffle also in, Vince.
Yeah, they've had a good car here the last couple of times here, but they have been searching for it today. They're going to put the track bar back to where it was on that last run, and the air pressure is back as well. 4-tire change, Doc.
4 tires on the 11 car. Keep an eye on Scott Wood. He's the gas man. 1 can has gone in. Got to get the second can up. Want to get it completely full of fuel. And it did get it full of fuel. He's down and away. Last stop scheduled for Denny Hamlin.
Kevin Harvick is away. Jimmy Johnson took the lead when Denny Hamlin pitted. Now he's in, Jamie.
Yes, and he's saying he's still a little bit free on exit. The team is fired up. Right now, as it stands, Jimmy Johnson would take over the points lead over Brad Keselowski. They're keeping that in mind. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for the 48. They've been flawless all day, Dave.
17 of Matt Kenseth is in, loose, in and off the corner. And the slow is just plain, the middle is just plain slow. Doc?
Made a track bar adjustment and went down on the air on the right side tires for 4-tire change for Casey Kane, trying to get the car to come to life here in the final stop. Here comes Jeff Gordon to you, Vince.
That's right, Doc, and Gordon needs a little bit of help getting it to turn in the center. He's been happier since they put that rubber in the right rear, although it wasn't good in the early part of the run, but it came to him. They're going to put 4 tires on it, fill it up full of Sunoco fuel, and again, around in that right rear to help Jeff Gordon in the center.
Brad Keselowski had taken over the lead when Jimmy Johnson pitted. Now he comes to the pit lane for his final stop. There'll be 52 laps to go. There he is, Vince.
He was the winner last week at Chicagoland Speedway. Brad Keselowski tied her up off the turns, but he says that's okay for the start of the runs. They've been a better long-run car today. Right sides only for the two of Keselowski.
So Denny Hamlin cycles back to the lead. And on the exchange of pit stops, Clint Bowyer goes past Jimmy Johnson into second spot. There's Hamlin. There is Bowyer. And now Jimmy Johnson back in third. .50 laps to go. Will we see another yellow flag? Will there be that late twist in the Sylvania 300? We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by 5-Hour Energy. Little intensity here in the late laps. Some close quarters there. Saw Matt Kenseth in NASCAR Nonstop with the big slide up off turn 4. Somehow kept it off the wall. And Denny Hamlin, the race leader, putting Carl Edwards a lap down. Edwards in 19th position with 45 laps to go. Our Ram race rundown. Denny Hamlin is the leader. Multiple lead changes, a lot because of green flag pit stops. Hamlin's done a lot of the leading today. He's been the man. The biggest movers, Brian Vickers and Sam Hornish Jr. had to start at the back of the field because Hornish wasn't here for practice and qualifying. And Vickers' team had to make an engine change between the end of practice and the start of the race. Only 3 caution flags in the race so far. A competition caution and then 2 for debris. A very clean race here at the Magic Mile today. And a very dominant race for Denny Hamlin, who now needs to find a way to close it out. He's had dominant cars in the past here recently, and it hasn't worked out the way he wanted it to. This race a year ago, he was out of fuel with 3 to go. Not leading the race, but out of fuel with 3 to go. Lost a bunch of ground in the finishing order. Then this race in July, that late miscommunication on the last pit stop. The difficulties at the end of the Chicagoland race last week that cost him some positions in the final laps. A little bit of pit strategy played on that last round of pit stops.
Yeah, the 2 car is the one that really gained the most out of that. He took 2 tires, a really quick stop. You can see right there, it's the quickest of all of them. He's moved up into the top 5 in 4th spot. He can hang on to that. That'll be a great move. He only took 1 can of fuel. We had about 3 cars that I counted that just took 1 can of fuel. He was one of the cars.
Dale Jr., one of the drivers, taking just the right side tires on that last round of green flag pit stops. It moved Jr. up to the 11th position on the track. Enter now for a chance to win a Dale Earnhardt Jr. personalized Silverado, a Texas Motor Speedway race weekend, and a meet and greet with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Visit WinYourChevy.com now to enter. 16th to 11th on the exchange of pit stops for Jr. with just the right side tires. Jeff Gordon by Brad Keselowski for 4th place in the race. And one more championship point just changed hands.
Well, Gordon certainly needed them. Keselowski would like to have as many as he possibly can, but that's a nice move. It's going to be interesting to see how this call that Paul Wolfe had for Brad Keselowski, if that works out, they're able to stay up there. They've made up a lot of spots here today.
Yeah, they're one of the cars that gets really good fuel mileage, and the others must be the Hendrick cars. I noticed Jimmy Johnson, even though he took 4 tires, he only took 1 can of fuel as well. So that was 88, 48, and 2 that just took 1 can. The rest of the teams went ahead and filled up, actually plugged the 2nd can in.
Of course, talking about Jeff Gordon needing every point he can. The difficulties at Chicagoland Speedway last week. A mechanical problem under the hood sent him into the wall. At a 35th place finish, dropped 47 points off the lead after 1 race in the chase. That's a lot of ground to make up, but Jeff says they're not done yet.
You'll have that same frame of mind where it's just you go get everything you possibly can, be very aggressive in everything that we do, and so that doesn't change from here on out. We know we're not out of it, but we know it's a very steep uphill battle.
Well, we've seen drivers before have difficulty in the opening race of the chase and come back to win the championship. I should say we've seen driver, because the 2 times it's been done was Jimmy Johnson. And to do it, Johnson really had to put together a run of not just good finishes, back to your terminology thing from earlier in the telecast, but excellent finishes down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, and I said I think it's going to take a minimum of 2 wins for this 24 team, probably 3, and no finishes outside the top 12. Now, they have a solid day going here, so they can look at gaining those victories at some other places, but it's been a solid day and just what they kind of needed.
Check the gap, 1st to 2nd. It's a big one. Denny Hamlin, lap car, lap car, lap car, lap car, lap car. Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he's got a good lead. Like I said, Jimmy Johnson's car is like best of the rest today.
Yeah, and the difficulty is that Hamlin keeps running laps most of the time that are a little bit faster than what Jimmy's able to.
Now, Jimmy Johnson said after getting beaten by Brad Keselowski last Sunday at Chicagoland, said that his mindset is top 3 finishes. Knock out top 3s and get to race 6 or 7 in the chase, and then look at where you stand and see what you've got to do to win the championship. Certainly in position for a top 3 finish here today. Denny Hamlin try to run it out and pick up a win, Doc.
And guys, about an hour before the race today, Darian Grubb took a page out of his car owner Joe Gibbs book and called a huddle. He huddled his entire team in the holler, and I was able to go in and listen. And he told these guys, you know, we made mistakes last week and on Friday, but we're better than that, guys. We are experienced, we're talented. We have to focus and concentrate. And he told them, you know what? We have the best car and driver here, and Denny Hamlin has promised he will win this race if we do our job. And we got to go out there and do our job. And apparently, what's happened on the racetrack and on pit road, the huddle work, they've all done their job.
Only 5 races in the chase were won by drivers who time trialed 30th or worse. 2 of those 5 won by Denny Hamlin. He's trying to make it 3 for 6 as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Inside the final 30 laps in the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Denny Hamlin has dominated the day so far. Can he finish it off and take home the trophy?
Sylvania 300 in New Hampshire is brought to you by Silver Star Ultra Headlights from Sylvania, Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side. And AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible.
And ooh, just when you think the picture's becoming clear, the caution flag waves at New Hampshire. Debris on the racetrack being reported. Yellow flag number 4, the debris reported high in turn number 2. Erasing a 5+ second lead that Denny Hamlin had over Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, you see what Denny's doing right now? He's trying to keep those tires clean. I'm not sure he'd be trying to keep them clean if he was going to come take them off.
No, he's not going to come take them off. I think the biggest thing is he knows that this restart is going to be huge.
18 cars on the lead lap. That was Denny Hamlin's radio. You heard Darian Grubb saying, stay out, stay out. Which of the 18 lead lap cars will come in?
Yeah, that's the question. Where's it going to start? Some of the cars are going to come for sure at the back of the field. How far up through there will they come off the racetrack on the pit road? We'll see.
Time to find out.
Yeah.
Pit road's open. No.
Saw a lot of fakers.
It's like
39's the first one to come down pit road.
8th place driver is where the break happens.
Car of Kevin Harvick will take 2 fresh tires. They were far enough back to do it. Ryan Newman on pit road for 2 as well.
And the 14 of Tony Stewart, right sides, they figured they'd come. He was slipping back. The car wasn't handling that well. As you saw, the 88 pitted, and he's gone.
Greg Biffle there getting 4 tires. Jeff Burton getting 4. Can they make up any ground in the last run to the finish of this race? Free pass to Carl Edwards. And the first time in the last 5 races for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series here at New Hampshire that the caution is waived inside the last 50 laps. Just when you think you got those caution patterns all laid out, something changes. When Jimmy Johnson gets to erase that 5+ second gap he had on Denny Hamlin and get a shot at him on a restart.
Yeah, really his first opportunity to be up there with the 11 car and see exactly how he stacks up.
And Clint Boyer running 3rd, Jeff Gordon 4th, Brad Keselowski 5th. Kevin Harvick had a very close call on the pit lane just a minute ago during these stops.
Now, I think it was the 17 crew member that had the close call, right? He made it look a little worse than it was. See, all these cars really tight coming off pit road trying to race each other.
Kevin is our ESPN in-race reporter today.
Hey, Kevin, Dale Jarrett, do you have a copy? Kevin, I know the car probably hasn't been to your liking throughout the day, though, but a late pit stop here. Any adjustments made there to help you out?
Car hasn't been bad. It's just, it's really hard to pass, but they've done a good job doing the best we can, and we'll just keep fighting here. You never know. Track position is just king here.
Kevin, when you put 2 tires on like that, where does it help you the most with the car? Is it just grip and rolling through the center?
Yeah, and on these restarts, it'll have to get going a little better than 4 used ones, so we'll see.
All right, man, 1 to go. Thanks for talking.
Kevin Harvick in 11th position for this restart. And here at New Hampshire, Kevin, one of the 14 drivers in this field who've gone to victory lane at this racetrack before. He's had a lot of success here. He's just been in the back half of that top 10 or just outside of it all day. So the top 8 cars on the restart did not pit. First one off the pit lane is Ryan Newman in 9th position. And Denny Hamlin, who after the disappointment at the finish of the Chicagoland race, when a mistake on pit road ran them out of fuel, essentially said, it's all right, we're going to come back and win at New Hampshire, this being that next week. He's dominated today. 23 laps separate him from the trophy. Jimmy Johnson to his outside.
Jeff Gordon with a huge run. I don't think Clint Boyer was too happy with him jumping down there, though.
I'm just holding my breath to see if they made it through that first lap, because there's a lot of people driving awfully hard.
It was just incredible how fast that 11 car is. I mean, it's getting up to speed, getting going. Talked about the difficulty, how slick this racetrack is. Never know it watching him.
Nope. Yeah. Made it look easy today.
Ryan Newman was the first one off the pit lane on these stops. Tony Stewart, having to avoid the team car that he co-owns.
Newman got really loose on the exit of turn 4 there. See a little contact look like between Paul Menard and Kevin Harvick.
Some of the guys in the championship that have struggled a little bit today, trying to gain all the spots they can here in these closing laps. Harvick 29, Kenseth 17, Earnhardt Jr. 88, Greg Biffle in the 16, Truex Jr. in the 56, all back there in that knot.
And this part of the race where those times today where drivers let other drivers go, that's out the window now. You got to take and get everything that you possibly can. It might even mean trading some sheet metal right now.
13th and 14th place here. Matt Kenseth 17, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 88. And we'll put Jeff Burton in the 31 in the mix as Greg Biffle pops out of line in the 16. Working on Martin Truex Jr. for 17th place.
Yeah, Truex had a run on Regan Smith there in the 78. Got a little bit loose, had to come out of the gas. Biffle took advantage, took the spot away. Here comes Truex, up Biffle into the wall.
Every point that you gain on these last laps today can make a difference somewhere at the end of the season. We learned that last year for sure.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin has finally shown us what he really has today. Just watching his lap times, he ran the fastest laps of the day, just these last couple of laps.
Still, Earnhardt Jr. and Kenseth. 13th place. Whoa, a little slide there. And a little slide there.
Hey, Matt Kenseth spun the wheels all the way off the corner that time.
About how the Fords were struggling. Kenseth is the first Ford up in 14th spot this week.
That's so surprising, isn't it? I mean, Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth led the championship almost all season between them. Tony Stewart trying to get 8th place from Brian Vickers. Dale, you were talking about earlier all the different things a driver can try here, and Tony with the little stab on the accelerator there to try and get the car to set and cut the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, just carry a little bit of speed there, get the car turned where you can really get back in the gas. Tony's one of the best at doing that. Fun to watch him drive.
Make sure all your switches are up if you close anything. Good reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, he's talking about those brake duct hoses and fans just to make sure they don't have any kind of issue there.
One of the traditional issues here at New Hampshire with long straightaways and those flat tight corners is a lot of brake heat, and we've seen a lot in races past here that right front tire will sometimes just get melted by brake heat. Haven't seen that here today.
Well, one of the things that they have an ability to shut these fans off and basically have a valve to shut the airflow off. And they probably did that on that restart just to have a little extra speed for a few laps. And that was a good reminder from the crew chief, Darian Grubb, to turn them back on.
Well, Jimmy Johnson has been faster the last 2 laps than Denny Hamlin, but it was 0.02 of a second each lap.
That might have been while Denny was turning the fans back on.
At 0.02 of a second, he's going to need a lot more laps than there are left. But still, for Jimmy Johnson, first, he's going to finish the day ahead of Brad Keselowski the way that it looks at the moment. And second, he's going to keep pace basically with Denny Hamlin for the most part today because of the points Hamlin gave up at Chicagoland last week.
Yeah, and Jeff Gordon with another solid run, was solidly in the top 5 last week. Has to be thinking a little bit, what if we didn't have that parts failure there that put us into the wall. Again, it looks like this team is ready to get another victory. Where will that come? But it's going to take more than one to get back in this battle.
Another point for Tony Stewart by Joey Logano for 7th.
Well, those 2 tires that Smokewind got looked like it helped him be able to drive forward, and we've talked all day about how his car's a little better on the shorter runs.
Yeah, he's made the most of that tire change when those cars came down pit road. We saw Ryan Newman. He was the first one down pit road to get tires, but he's behind Tony now. Tony's making a little headway.
Stewart right now, as they run, shaping up to be about 10 points behind what would be Jimmy Johnson, with now 10 laps to go in this race. You look at the lead lap cars coming through.
It's about this time when you think about your teammate out there running on 7 cylinders, that maybe that you hear all these strange noises out of the engine with the day that he's had. That's about the only thing that's going to keep him from winning.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a teammate to have problems. When you have a car like that, you're just sitting there, wondering if something is going to happen. As we see Martin Truex still battling, trying to get another position, add another point. But that's one way to do it.
Yeah, more than one way to get it.
I just hope that doesn't come back to bite you in the next corner.
Yeah, that might not be exactly the way to make friends, but you're not doing that right now. See, Truex went back then, couldn't get off the corner after.
Regan Smith, 78, saying earlier this weekend wasn't sure what his future held. Wasn't positive he was going to be back aboard this 78 car beyond the end of this season. Bump.
That's some hard racing going on right there.
Yeah. Truex and Biffle, 17th and 18th positions. They are the deepest in the field of the 12 championship chasers.
And the 2 Childress cars, they've been racing each other ever since they came off pit road after that last stop.
Yeah, it looked like the adjustments that Harvick made in getting those 2 tires didn't really gain him anything from what he was doing. I know that he was probably hoping that might be able to pick up a few spots, which are points in this championship.
When you've had a day like Harvick's had, you just try to, any spark you think you can find. It's like this 88 car, though, has done a little better since he made his stop.
Yeah, he's able to at least get by Matt Kenseth, someone that was running in front of him. So I know they were hoping for and expecting a lot more from this today, but going to come out of here to where it hasn't put them out of the championship battle by any means.
So Dale Jr. there, grinding along in 13th position into the final laps of this one. Less than 5 laps to go for Denny Hamlin. How big might this win be for this team? The mistake at Chicagoland, the mistake on Friday in qualifying could cause some things potentially to get a little sideways in a group, and coming right back out here and making this kind of a statement, this kind of run. Team with the fastest pit stop all day, making the right adjustments, driver doing his job as well as he had. What a statement.
Yeah, they've made a good rebound, and I was watching, like I said at the start of the show, to make sure that they could do away with these mistakes, these silly mistakes that's kept them from being more successful in these 2 races. And now we're seeing what they're really capable of.
Yeah, and I know they'll want to enjoy this, what looks like a victory for them, and not to put it down on, but they really needed this for those things that you were pointing out, and looking ahead to Dover, which has been a racetrack that for some reason has just been the nemesis of Denny Hamlin trying to get around. They haven't had good finishes there in 8 of the last 10 races, so they needed this to stay solidly in there in case they have another one of those races next week.
Darian Grubb, winning crew chief in this race a year ago, went on to win the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship. And just under 2 laps to go now for Denny Hamlin to go to victory lane. Jimmy Johnson, a very strong run. Started back in 20th position, rolled his way up eventually into the top 5 and up now to 2nd place, but that's going to be best in class today.
One more, 2.5 seconds.
As Denny Hamlin takes the white flag, 1 lap to go.
Just a great job by this driver. We talked about how good he is at this racetrack. He put all of those good skills to use today.
Yeah, and so did his team. Best pit stop of the day, and by far the best handling race car.
And the winner of the 2nd race in the chase has gone on to win the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship the last 3 consecutive years. Twice by Jimmy Johnson, once by Tony Stewart. The 2nd chase race in 2012 goes to Denny Hamlin at New Hampshire. Hamlin wins it by 2.5 seconds over Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Gordon finishes 3rd.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, crew.
He led nearly 2/3 of the race after starting 28th on the grid. Doc, if there needed to be an answer, the statement was made loudly today by both driver and team.
Absolutely, getting in there with Darian Grubb. And Darian, it looks like the pre-race huddle and pep talk worked perfectly. Your driver and your pit crew were flawless today.
Yeah, they really will. They did an awesome job. The pep talk really didn't do much because these boys are professionals. They were going to do that regardless, but it's good to know that the driver's behind us and we're behind him.
All right, Darian Grubb headed to victory lane, and now time for some burnout action by Denny Hamlin, guys.
He is going to burn it down. Denny Hamlin, the winner at New Hampshire today in the Sylvania 300. Lots of post-race coverage still to come from the Magic Mile, including Victory Lane, which comes after We Go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Well, quite a celebration, as you saw from Denny Hamlin, who, first of all, might have done one of the best burnouts we've seen in a long time. He almost got into drifting territory there.
I want to tell you, this is the best one I think I've ever seen. It's probably the longest burnout I've ever seen after a race.
Burnout of the year. For sure.
Absolutely. He's only halfway through it right now.
Well, it was a week ago at the end of the Chicagoland race to open the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup that a mistake during a pit stop left Denny Hamlin shy on fuel. He ran out of fuel in the final lap and lost positions and points, 7 of them that might be valuable in this championship. Handled so well afterward by both driver and team. Hamlin said, we're going to win next week. And by gosh, win he did. Not just win, but dominate, leading nearly 2/3 of the laps today in this race. And then, like Babe Ruth back in 1932, calling his shot, Hamlin paying tribute.
I like his style.
He called his shot, and he knocked it out of the park today here in New Hampshire.
But the guys did a really good job. It was a solid race for us. We worked quite exhaustively.
Victory Lane is presented by Tire Rack.
Everybody expanded, but home the Turkey team did a great job again. And we'll just get ready for road next week. Look forward to that.
A shower of suds and soda down here for Denny Hamlin. And Denny, as the saying goes, it ain't bragging if you back it up. And you called your shot last Sunday, and man, you backed it up big time today. Congratulations.
Yeah, I just can't say enough for this whole FedEx Freight team. This is, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a little confidence in your team. And I know we made a couple big mistakes over the last 2 weeks, but I said we were fast enough to make it up, and we were. And I'm going to have these guys back until they die. I mean, this is my team, and just excited about everything. So can't thank Toyota enough. Everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing at the Fab Shop building these race cars. These are lightning fast race cars that they're giving me, and Toyota, FedEx, Sprint, Coke, Wiley X, everyone from the Nike and Jordan brand, and all these fans. This is a huge packed crowd tonight. Can't thank Jerry Gappins and his crew enough for having me up here to promote this race, and told him I had a great shot to win it. Now I can touch that trophy.
You told me the pre-race you wanted to be in the top 10 by lap 100. You took the lead, my friend, on lap 93. I think even you underestimated how good this car was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to sound too cocky, but I knew what we were capable of. And, you know, our car was extremely strong, and I have a really good knack for this racetrack, and it just the two together with a crew chief like Darian, it's a winning combination.
Hey, you won the race and won the burnout. Congratulations. Let's celebrate here at Denny Hamlin. We're going to walk away. 100th victory, Alan, for Joe Gibbs Racing in Sprint Cup competition.
And well earned for Denny Hamlin and the coach and his team today, Doc. And we look at the championship standings now after race number 2 in this year's chase.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson did a great job of taking that point lead, ran good all day, had the second best car.
Yeah, great call by Paul Wolf, and Brad could get Brad Keselowski up there, get a solid 6th place finish out of that. Stay right there with Jimmy Johnson.
Denny and Tony right there as well as we head on to Dover next week. Let's hear from some of the top finishers in the race and some of those closest to the top of the chase. Here's Vince.
Well, in the Chase Championship, when every point matters, taking 2 tires there got you a handful of spots at the end. That might make a difference when it comes to deciding this championship. What kind of day did you have?
I just had a decent day, not an awesome day or even a bad day, just a decent day where the Millwright team kept digging and made something happen there at the end. I think we had some great long-run speed. Not quite the short-run speed we needed to keep pace, but, 11 car was just phenomenal today, and they did a great job. So, hats off to Denny and his gang, but, a solid effort, 6th place. Man, if you could do that every week, that'd be pretty good. So I'm proud of my team, and we'll go get them next week at Dover.
Did you have some concern when Paul called for that 2-tire stop? Almost everyone else took 4.
No, this is Paul Wolf, man. I trust him.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, Jimmy Johnson told me in pre-race that the target was Denny Hamlin. He was in front of you. You raced your way all the way up to him. But where do you feel like he was better than you guys today?
It was hard to tell. He had a lot of speed in his car and seemed to be able to
go when he needed to and wanted to. It was just a great job on their behalf. You know, we were the next best car, finished second, had passed a lot of cars ourselves today. We knew based on the spring race that those guys were going to be real tough here today, and they certainly will. So we've got some really good ones coming up for this 48 team starting next weekend. I'm really excited about things. I think probably left about 7 points on the table, you know, with 2 win points, the extra points for that, and leading the most this week. So to be 2 races in, and that's all that I feel we've left behind is, you know, it's pretty darn good. So I'm real happy.
Well, you did what you needed to do. You're 1 point in the lead right now, leading the points over Brad Keselowski. And I see a little smile on your face because you know we're going to Dover next week. Is this exactly where you wanted to be?
Yeah, it is. I mean, this track here, you know, we have a few wins, but kind of average like a top 10. So to beat our average here is very important and very helpful in the chase. Then we got to go to Dover next weekend, a place I love, and hopefully have a good smart day and get the finish we hope we'll have. Consistency is key, and Jimmy Johnson had it once again.
Speaking of a driver looking forward to going to Dover next week, Matt Kenseth runs very well here. How would you describe, Matt, a 14th for you here at New Hampshire?
Well, I mean, it was an uphill battle, but I thought my Zest team did a good job. We had good pit stops. Our strategy was fine. We had about a 10th place car at best on a real long run, and just with that short run at the end of that late caution, that was just the best I could do with it.
All right, that's Matt Kenseth.
Checking in with Clint Boyer, finished 4th today, and anytime you can put a top 5 together in a chase, you got to be fairly pleased with it.
Yeah, I was hoping to capitalize a little bit more at this racetrack. It's been good to me over the years. This is one of my best racetracks. So, not what I wanted, but certainly what we needed. A solid race, 4th place finish, top 5. That keeps us in the hunt, and we'll go on to Dover.
Did you feel like you were missing today?
Just we were down on rear grip. From the time we unloaded, I was just a little bit too loose in and loose off. I couldn't quite get in a corner and pull on the wheel and get it across the center. Then I couldn't put the throttle down up off quite as good as I needed to. Fought, dug hard. Proud of the guys for all their efforts. Just couldn't quite get it where it needed to be.
Thanks, Clint. 4th place today for Clint Boyer.
Vince, thanks. We've heard mention of Dover, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson. Looking forward to the Monster Mile next Sunday, as are we, and hope you can join us at the track. Dover, Talladega, the big wild card, Charlotte, and more upcoming in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR.com/tickets if you'd like to join us at the racetrack, and of course all of those telecasts upcoming on the ESPN family of networks. So Denny Hamlin dominated from deep in the pack where the starting grid was concerned today. Final thoughts on what you saw?
Yeah, domination. But I also saw Jimmy Johnson and his race team do an excellent job there today to make sure that they're keeping themselves right there. 2 second-place finishes is not a bad way to start the chase.
No, it's a great way. And as a matter of fact, I picked him as my favorite to win the championship, and the 2 contenders in my book were the 11 and the 2. Nothing happened today to change my mind on that. I saw the 2 car do a great job of executing, and man, the 11 car is so dominant.
And I saw all the drivers in the chase finish toward the front of the pack, which is what you're supposed to do. First ever race in the chase where a chaser didn't finish outside the top 20. They all kept it at least fairly close. Casey Kane had a good run today, Jamie. Top 5.
Heck of a day for the Hendrick Motorsports guys, and you're sitting here having a debrief with Jeff and Jimmy. What'd you take away from today and how your chase is shaping up?
We had another consistent day. Our Farmers Insurance Chevrolet was fast, not as fast as a few of those guys, but it was good. I just thought I couldn't get the car to turn when it would load. I think it was just on the splitter a little too hard and chatter the front. So we just need to work on that, but we couldn't fix it during the race. So we had what we had, and the team did a really nice job on pit road with stops and things to keep us towards the front. We've been pretty consistent so far. So the first 2 is good for the chase, and hopefully we can keep it going and get a little faster if we want to catch those other guys. It would, that'd be pretty cool. Denny was great today.
All right, consistency once again. Casey Kane, 5th in points, Alan.
Jamie, thanks. And a reminder that SportsCenter comes up next with more coverage from here in New Hampshire. And tonight, it's the final eliminations of the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. The next weekend, onto the Monster Mile in Dover for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Saturday at 3 Eastern, ESPN. And Sunday, Race 3 in the Chase. Presented by GoDaddy.com, ESPN, next Sunday at 1 Eastern Time. Well, Doc mentioned in Victory Lane the 100th victory in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series for Joe Gibbs Racing. Win number 1 came on a magical day in the Daytona 500. Dale Jarrett behind the wheel of that car.
Pretty special day there to win the Daytona 500. Bring Joe Gibbs his first victory in NASCAR.
Of course, Mom Martha watching and Daddy Ned calling the race for CBS up at the broadcast booth. Certainly one of the more memorable days for a lot of longtime fans of the sport. Win number 100 comes on a statement day for Denny Hamlin and his group within Joe Gibbs Racing. If they were to get sidetracked by anything, last Sunday and Friday might have happened, but not so. They kept it together, and not only that, they got Coach Gibbs his 100th trophy, Doc.
And, Coach, we were just showing the very first victory at Daytona with some guy named Dale Jarrett, and now today, 100th victory. Congratulations. What does this mean to you and this team?
Well, I just want to say thanks to everybody back home. It's an absolute thrill to be here. FedEx, but we got to thank Home Depot, Dollar General, Mars, and M&M's, all of our sponsors. Just really appreciate that for us to be able to get 100. Appreciate everybody back home, motor room, all the way across the shop, technical guys, fab shop, everybody. Thanks. It's just a big deal to know that we were, as a group, it took all of us to be able to get to this point, so I'm thrilled with it.
The commercial says that a young man told you when he was 10 years old, if you would hire him, he would win you a NASCAR championship. That young man was Denny Hamlin. Today, one step closer.
I told everybody, he didn't tell me I was going to have to pay him $1 million to drive for me when he was 10. I'm thrilled to have Denny driving for us. It was I walked out and he was standing there, and thank goodness they took a picture. It was great. And Denny, I appreciate his family, everybody. It's a great story for him. Really, JD deserves the credit. He spotted him driving late models. He said, come on down and get in the test. He got in the test. He was first. Put him in a truck. He wound up 11th, very first race. Put him in a nationwide car. He wound up 9th. And JD goes, I think we ought to sign this guy. And I go, good idea.
And the rest, they say, is history. Let's check in where Jamie Little's caught up with Jeff Gordon.
Well, Jeff Gordon took a look at those points, and he's 45 points back in 12th, but you're still optimistic.
Well, we gained a lot on a lot of guys, you know, and, you know, it's going to be tough to gain on guys like the 48 and the 2, and certainly today nobody was going to gain on that 11, but it was still a really great effort, top 3, you know. Hey, what happened in Chicago would have back-to-back top 5s, I think, but still a great effort by the Drive-In Hunger Chevrolet team. You know, I thought the pit stops were great. I mean, all the way around, a great effort this weekend. Great calls in the pits, adjustments as well. That was the best the car been all day long, was right there at the end, and that's all you can ask for. We didn't have a car that could win. I thought we were about a third, maybe 5th place car. We come home third. That's pretty good.
It was fun watching the points. I know you're just racing, but when you passed Keselowski, you watched the points of Jimmy Johnson. All of a sudden, he was tied, and now he's leading the points. So I think he deserves, or you deserve, to go out to dinner. What do you think?
Well, if that happens in Homestead, I think he might buy dinner. But it's so early right now. You know, everybody's just racing for position, racing for wins, and you know, the points are kind of fall where they fall. But you know, I thought the 48 and Jimmy did a great job today to come from deep in the field. And, you know, his car, I know the setup, and he drove the heck out of it and drove up through there. And, you know, I thought that was a great effort. And that's the kind of effort that wins championships. So we'll see where that takes him.
Great rebound for you guys as well.
When you win the race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, you get a 22-pound trophy. Wow. This one, though, you can eat.
Yes,
Final thoughts, guys, as we head to Dover next week. We know Johnson and Kenseth are good there. Hamlin and Tony Stewart tend to struggle.
Well, they might struggle a little bit, but this guy's got a lot of momentum on his side, Nicole. I was blown away how he dominated the race today. He told everybody he was going to win the race, and he went out and done it. And last night, he scared all the competition because they were freaked out he was going to win, and he did.
We'll see you next weekend from Dover. Coming up next with more coverage from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It is Sports Center. Congrats once again to the guy who called his win last week, Denny Hamlin.
Tough guys. It's a bit of a cliche.
He checked up early and I hit him.
They say they're going to run over you and rattle your cage. Now tough guys means doing 190 in ungodly heat.
Denny Hamlin has been the man today.
It's no longer just about here. It's about here.
You're the man, bud. You can handle it here.
The second chase race in 2012 goes to Denny Hamlin at New Hampshire.
This sports